will start the recording. For those of you that are joining us through WebEx, this also streams live, and you can do that through the website if you so choose. So welcome and thank you for joining. Good morning. Today is Monday, August the 2nd. We are starting at 9:02 a.m. and this is the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board meeting. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Good morning, and this meeting is called to order. I'd like to say welcome to all of our guests who are here in person and those who are attending electronically. We will begin with a roll call to establish quorum.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Ron Gillihan.
Here.
Vice Chair Becky Russell. Here. Judy McAllister.
Here.
Patricia Parsons.
Here.
Mona Sappenfield.
Here.
Thank you. Frank Ambusa.
Here.
Amy Tanksley. Here. Anita Charlton. I don't have Ms. Charlton on the call. Ms. Wyvette Granger. Ms. Granger is out. Ms. Susan Witcher.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Janie Ross. Here. Thank you. Dr. John Cagle. Dr. Cagle. I don't have him on the call. And Ms. Monica Lemons.
Here.
Thank you. We have one caller that is not identified. Could you, and a second individual, CP, could you let us know who just dialed in? Okay, we will proceed. Hugh, I will turn it over to you for statement of necessity. I show 7 board members in person and 3 more participating through WebEx, so we will need the statement.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is a routinely scheduled meeting of the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners, which is taking place in Conference Room 1A of the Davy Crockett Tower in Nashville, Tennessee. Notice of this meeting was previously posted to the board's website. As there is not a physical quorum present, a statement of necessity will be read into the record and filed with the Tennessee Secretary of State as required by statute. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 844108B2, which states if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, then in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication, the governing body must make a determination that a necessity exists. That determination must include a resuscitation of the facts and circumstances on which it's based. Further, Tennessee Code Annotated Section 844108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting which require timely action by the body, that physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. As stated, this is the routinely scheduled meeting of the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners, and the purpose of this meeting, with certain members attending by teleconference, is to discuss the agenda as noticed on the website earlier. And this concludes the statement of necessity, and to accept this statement, I will need a motion and a roll call vote.
I make a motion.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Ms. Judy McAllister by roll call vote. Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Rebecca Russell. Judy McAllister.
Yes.
Patricia Parsons.
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield.
Yes.
Frank Ambusa.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley. Yes. Susan Witcher.
Yes.
Janie Ross. Yes. And Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. This time we'll have the approval of the June 2021 meeting minutes. If there are no additions, corrections, or deletions, do we have any questions, or do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
second. Can we call a roll, please?
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Judy McAllister. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan,
Yes.
Becky Russell, Judy McAllister,
Yes.
Patricia Parsons,
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield,
Yes.
Frank Ambusa,
Yes.
Amy Tanksley, Susan Witcher,
Yes.
Janie Ross,
Yes.
Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Miss Roxana, I apologize. This is Laura.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
have one call-in user. If you could give me your name, please, for the record, I'd appreciate it.
Laura, to simplify it, if you could just, maybe the caller has her on mute. If not, you can go ahead and assign them a number or initials, whatever helps us.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Next item, we're going to move on to the schools.
Thank you very much, Chairman Gillihan. We are moving on to our school presentations. First on our agenda is a change of ownership. This is Jenny Lee Academy of Cosmetology. This change of ownership is both for the Cosmetology and the Barber School. Mr. John Rogers, the former school owner, Ms. Virginia Lewis, and the new owners, which are TC Beauty, are participating together to answer any questions for the board. The school is in Kingsport, Tennessee. It is 15,000 square feet. The application for the cosmetology school license, as well as the barber school license, the curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, contingency plan were all received timely for both school types. I will let the board ask any questions of Ms. Lewis, who I do see on the call, and otherwise we would need a motion to proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Lewis. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Lewis. We hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Amy, I can't hear you. You'll have to make sure your mic's on.
Sorry, the school's in good standing.
Yes, absolutely.
In my review of the information submitted, I did not identify anything that seemed to stand out as any sort of red flag or anything that caused me concern with their documentation. I thought it looked like a really good school. And this is just ownership, correct?
That is correct.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this change of ownership. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, we'll call the roll.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, Ms. Lewis.
This is Virginia.
Yes.
You have it as Kingsport, and the location is Johnson City.
Oh, I apologize. That's probably my mistake. Let me make sure that the application has the right location.
Okay.
Front page
I
says
think it's start.
Johnson City.
Okay, so that's me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is me writing notes too quickly. So I'm glad you caught that. Thank you very much. We have a motion to approve the change of ownership by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Ms. Amy Tanksley. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan,
Yes.
Becky Russell, Judy McAllister,
Yes.
Patricia Parsons,
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield,
Yes.
Frank Ambusa,
Yes.
Amy Tanksley,
Yes.
Susan Witcher,
Yes.
Janie Ross,
Yes.
and Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, you have on your iPads and the documents that were added to SharePoint for your review before the meeting. This is Hunt's Barber Academy. This is a new barber school. Mr. Brandon Hunt, are you on the call with us? I will let the board members have a minute to review. This is the school that was previously presented at in the February meeting as well as April. There were some changes requested of the contract as well as the catalog. Mr. Hunt was not able to present his application in June because the school actually had some damage done to it. I don't have the details on the accident, but something happened to that suite. He had to move, so he's still in the general area, but in a different suite. So you have before you a different floor plan, and then all of his updated documents. He was aware that the meeting was today. I haven't received an email from him stating that he wouldn't be able to participate. So I'll proceed with board members' decision.
Thank you, Roxana. If I recall, this has been presented a couple of times, and there were just some changes and cleanup that needed to be made. As I reviewed this one, going back to my original notes from, I guess, the first presentation and the second, it appeared to me that the necessary corrections had been made. As I reviewed it this month, I did find a couple of very, very minor typographical type errors. If they're online with us, I would ask that you just take a look at page 103 on our report. I'm not sure what that is in his, but there's a couple of typographical things on that page in our report. Let me see, 103.
The math isn't right.
The math is not correct. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that's easily corrected. It's I believe a very minor $10 error, if I've calculated that correctly. But outside of that,
That on his school fees?
Yes,
is that the page? So toward the end?
Yes.
I think on our iPads, is that page 103?
It is.
Okay,
correct.
Thank you. That's what I've got. Thank you.
That rate at the bottom of the page, the last number he's got, I think doesn't quite add up to his table that he has. But if we can get that corrected, I think I would be in favor of recommending this application. Do we have any other questions or comments or discussion?
No, I know that he's presented a few times, and so if you feel comfortable with the represent, I'm good with that too.
We have a motion.
Making motion to approve and move forward with what, a board and a field inspector?
Okay, I second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll have a roll call.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Amy Tansley, a second by Monica Lemons. Roll call vote. Mr. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell? Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Gambusa?
Yes.
Amy Tansley?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
Monica Lemons?
Yes.
By any chance, Ms. Anita Charlton, have you been able to join us? Ms. Yvette Granger? Okay, we will proceed. And this is, because it is a brand new school, it will require a field inspector and board members. We did not bring that up for Jenny Lee Academy, but I assume because it was an existing school, just a field inspector as well? Okay, and that's where my notes. Thank you. Next on your iPads, starting on page 104, you have a new Barber School. The name of the school is Barber School 1. Mr. Lamar Hobson is participating telephonically and available to answer any questions. This school is 2,200 square feet. It is located in Jackson, Tennessee. The new school application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, and contingency plan were received timely. The 15 student contracts are no longer required by the rule. I just wanted to point that out since I'm used to stating that. And I'll turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan and Mr. Hobson. If they have any questions for you, we'll make sure that you get a chance to mute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Hobson. If you'll give us just a couple of minutes to let the board members get up to your application, we may have some questions for you. Mr. Hobson, would you like to tell us a little bit about your school as we're getting started here?
Yes, sir. I just the school that I'm opening or whatever. I worked in the school prior, and like I said, I worked in school for about since 2012 till it closed down, and then now I'm reopening in the same location, and I got students calling me, enrolling, and ready to go.
We're glad to hear that. Okay. For the members, I'm sure you have things yourselves, but on page 112 of our report.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hobson, you have a statement in your paperwork here that indicates some information about requiring valid diplomas. Just want to make sure that you understand that would be a policy that you have, that the state board does not require a high school graduate for barbering any longer.
Correct, sir. I've made the necessary correction.
Okay. Just something that caught my eye a little bit, I believe, on page 113 of our report. It looks like page 6 in your information. You got just a couple of typographical things in there. I believe we're referring to an expulsion as an explosion.
Yes. I went back to it and I corrected all of that.
Okay.
And,
I corrected all.
no explosions.
No explosions today.
Yeah. No, I corrected all. I went back to it and whatever. I corrected all of that.
Yeah. Okay. On page 130, again, this is just a minor typo, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
130, there's a similar thing with the word bloom. I'm not quite sure where we're going with that one. Let me see.
Yes, I went back through it and made all necessary changes and corrections.
That is page 14 of your documents. If you'll make sure that grievance is also spelled right. Is that where the word blue
right,
is?
right. It's in there. I'm just looking for it in the language. Okay. Really, I really didn't see anything out of line in this. If you could, though, could you? I just found it. I was looking for your curriculum here, your course outline, your curriculum. That was the only other question I had on that one. I think this one looks okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about the hours and days for class for both the full-time and part-time students?
Yes, ma'am. The hours of full-time is 9 to 5, and then part-time is 5 to 9.
And is this Monday through Friday?
It's Monday through Thursday, then Friday is 9 to 5, and then Saturday is 8 to 12.
The evening class, will they attend on Friday or Saturday?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, they will. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We hear you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Page 8 of your things, and for us it's page 124. It says a master barbering instructor part-time, and you've got 0 hours. And I'm not sure if that was supposed to be 20 hours or.
Page 8. Page 8. Master barber, instructor of master barber.
Master Barber Instructor, it says part-time, but it doesn't give us any hours per week. So
It's Master Barber Instructor 18.
okay, so if you'll make that correction in that paper.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I make that correction. Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Becky, what page was that?
It's 124 of hours.
Thank you.
See that now, Becky? See it now?
Make correction.
I do have a question on page 126 that I see it's of our report, which is page 10 of yours.
Yes, sir.
You're indicating the student records that your school is going to maintain and keep. I believe all the student records, their enrollment contracts and agreements and those things, the entire package needs to be kept. You've got several items outlined here. They appear to be things that might be within that package, but just want to make sure that you're clear that all of those records need to be maintained, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not a problem.
And I believe our statute says a minimum of 7 years. A lot of our schools have gone to keeping them digitally as opposed to paper or both. That would be up to you, but it has to be accessible to our field inspectors whenever they go to inspect.
Yes, ma'am. I got it right. All student records will be maintained for 7 years.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Do you have any other questions or any comments on this file?
I'm sorry. I'll make a recommendation to approve as long as the corrections are made that we were talking about and presented with the inspector, both field and.
Thank you. We have a motion by Patricia Parsons and a second by Judy McAllister for approval of the school as long as the corrections are made and sent to our office for the license file. And it is with a field inspection as well as a board member inspection. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Becky Russell. Judy McAllister.
Yes.
Patricia Parsons.
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield.
Yes.
Frank Ambusa.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley.
Yes.
Susan Witcher.
Yes.
Janie Ross.
Yes.
Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Do we have any other board members that have been able to join us? Okay, so this is approved. Congratulations, Mr. Hobson. And if you will email me when you are ready for an inspection, it'll take us 10 business days, hopefully less than that, but we'll have a board member and field inspector reach you for those, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
And have a good day.
You too. Next,
Bye-bye.
we have a Master Educators Academy. This is a new specialty instructor school. Miss Amira Jones. Ms. Jones, are you on the call with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We didn't have you assigned to that caller. Thank you, Ms. Jones. She's available, board members, for any questions that you have. This school is located in Memphis. The new school application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, floor plan, catalog, and contingency plan have been presented. I will let you review one more time and ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Ms. Jones.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just go ahead and note that I have made an update to the catalog to include the schedule times. The schedule is Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the evenings are from 4:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So I didn't include that. And I also wanted to note that it is multidisciplinary, so it would not be limited to just cosmetology instructors. It would be natural hair instructor, nail instructor, aesthetics, and barbering. So I do have those updates to the catalog that I can submit.
A nail as well.
I assume she means manicure. Yes.
From
Hello.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the evenings are from 4:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So I didn't include that.
Hello.
And I also wanted to note that it is
Hello.
would not be limited to just cosmetology instructors.
Ms. Jones, I believe we heard you. I think we also have a new caller that has just dialed in. Could you give us your name, please?
Lakita Hughes.
Ms. Hughes, if you can go ahead and mute yourself, we will mark that you are caller number 4.
Okay.
Ms. Jones, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Oh, it wasn't you. That we've got somebody else speaking. If everyone could make sure to mute yourselves. Thank you. I will turn it over to Chairman Gillihan for any questions regarding the school. This is a specialty instructor school. I believe what Ms. Jones pointed out is that she is wanting to teach the discipline, the 300 hours to instructors from different disciplines. In other words, cosmetologists, licensed manicurists, natural hairstylists, as well as master barbers, all taking the 300 hours to become instructors, and that would be allowed based on our previous conversations, but I do want you to look at the business plan to carry this out. But the barber piece only can be taught by a licensed master barber instructor. That's the only piece I think I needed to clarify. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Jones, going through your application, I don't believe I found a refund policy anywhere in this. Could you direct me to where that's going to be?
Let me see. If you give me a moment to look through my application.
So, Roxana, what you're saying is
Okay.
esthetician
I don't
instructor,
see it.
nail instructor, Cosmo instructor would all be under a cosmetology instructor, and just the barbering instructor sits alone with needing a master barber instructor as well. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jones, as with all schools, I'd like for you to include the word instructor trainee in your package somewhere, just because there are a couple of different options for cosmetology field type instructors to be instructor trainees or junior instructors, just so that they, when being directed toward the laws, can make sure that they are clear about what the laws are. So if you'll just include the words instructor trainee in this packet.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the update. And I don't see where I have the refund policy in what I submitted, but I can include that in the update. I have it here on my end.
Can you explain a little bit about your curriculum that I see here? It appears that this is simply taken from the Instructor Training Handbook. Is that correct?
Yes, we follow the Lady Master Educators course. along with the Cengage online presentation. So the course curriculum comes directly from Cengage and Milady. And then we have a block where we do hands-on lesson planning, where they actually develop a lesson plan. They learn how to develop objectives in accordance with PSI, and they then do a live presentation in front of their respective classes.
I have a quick question on that. A live presentation in front of what classes, since you only have individuals that are licensed there and learning to teach?
Well, what would happen is I would ask or engage other schools to see if they would allow them to come in and maybe provide them the opportunity to do a presentation of their lesson plan so that they have the chance to present in front of a live class to get acclimated to that before they go to state board, at least once before the course is over.
Do you have that arrangement already in place?
I do have relationships with a few of the barbering schools, an aesthetics program, as well as a natural hair program. Yes, ma'am.
So will you be going with them to oversee them when they do their presentation?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
How many instructors will you have in your school?
2.
I'm sorry?
2 instructors.
2. You know, I know that we have the ability to have the executive director authorize a field trip under certain circumstances occasionally. But to authorize someone to do more or less outsourced training for a specialty school, I'm not sure that's going to fall under the parameters of what this is designed for.
When you say outsourced training, can you?
Oh, when you said you would send your people out to other schools so that they could observe in other schools.
Well,
I'm not sure where that falls within our curriculum guidelines.
Yes, sir. It's more or less like them doing a presentation. So if they were presenting, for example, effective presentations, if they go through in chapter 8 or 9, if they were to, their project would be to create a lesson plan using the principles that they learned for effective presentations and then actually make a presentation. I would allow them to make a presentation at a cosmetology school in a classroom. Is that the same thing? I'm not saying they're observing. No, they're training. Their hours are going to be clocked with me monitoring in this program. However, they will have the opportunity to present to a class their ability to instruct. Does that make sense? Or
I'm just not sure on taking them outside of your school to go for more training. I'm not comfortable with that as myself.
Remember that these are the 300 instructor hours, so you have to teach. And so either they're doing the course planning, and we've got 3 board members that are instructors, and you're teaching to other individuals that are learning to teach, and it's a mock class, or you're going to a school that's going to let you actually teach to their students, right? It's one or the other, I believe, not being you all are the experts, but there would be no other way to get those general hours to really carry out what you're going to teach, right?
Correct.
Any of these classes going to be virtual? Or are they all in school only?
They have the option to do both. They are both virtual via Zoom, and they have the Cengage online curriculum they matriculate through for the theory portion.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on from that just a little bit while we ponder that. On page 174 of our reports, and I don't see a page number in yours, Ms. Jones, there is a table, a schedule, if you will, of hours broken down here, chapter 1, chapter 2, so forth. It identifies that you're doing the login format is Zoom and online and so forth as we go down through here. I don't see anywhere in here where you've got it allowed or got it written out for when you're going to be doing these externships.
When you that is down at the bottom. When we get into the lesson planning and the PSI bulletin, so it's really within the last 16 hours of the program that they have that opportunity to kind of mock instruct or get in front of a classroom, but it would be more or less them coming and clocking those hours in person. Otherwise, they would just be doing it in the classroom or doing their online presentation.
So are you saying that they're only going to be doing 15 hours of that general teaching from your curriculum?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Sorry.
You said that that they would have 15 hours in that. Is that all the time you've got in their general curriculum for hands-on teaching and in-person teaching?
The 16 hours, yes. The theory is 200 and some odd hours. I want to say, I'm not, look at the breakdown. I have a breakdown there on the curriculum about the actual teaching theory. And that is 200 hours.
Roxana, do we have any other specialty instructor schools?
We approved one at the June meeting. It's our very first one. The business plan looked a little different than this, and the board asked a lot of questions, and in the end you were comfortable with the business plan and how that school was planning to carry out the breakdown of the hours. So June was the first meeting, yes.
Okay, so we do have a school that's doing this.
They haven't officially started taking contracts, but yes, they were approved and reviewed in June.
I'm just uncomfortable about some of the presentations you've made, and I would like to see you clean it up a little bit, maybe represent at the next meeting and break down more of your time and get everything lined up for sure for us to review.
Okay, can I ask what, in terms of the course breakdown, can you tell me what needs more clarity?
Ms. Jones, I think what Ms. Richmond is kind of alluding to is probably a little more clarity in your curriculum breakdown, how you intend to manage your hour requirements under the state curriculum, what are your general hours, what are your theory hours, and so forth, and specifically break those down, even perhaps preach discipline that you have. It's kind of like we've got a whole bucket full of things here that may not be very clear depending on which discipline you're falling into. Instructor training is instructor training in one sense, but the individual programs have probably got some nuances that need to be identified a little more clearly here. I'm not comfortable with you not having your refund policy in here at all, because that is a requirement of the application as well as several other items. For me, I think I would prefer to see you revisit this and get a little more clarification into your individual disciplines program, your curriculum. If you look on the state website, there's absolutely a listing of the requirements for any type of school, and I'd go through that real well. And I'd have to agree with Patricia. I think I'd rather have this represented.
I like to say another thing that if you've got a school that's participating in the cosmetology to teach out do the practicals with, we'd also like to see one for the barber side if you're planning on doing the barber side, and know which schools they would be.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. And on the course breakdown, I do have the hours broken down, and it's pretty much the same across all disciplines. I think where I want to just be clear so that when I do present again, I want to be clear on what specifically needs to be clarified in the curriculum. Is it just the idea of them teaching outside of the classroom? Is that what the clarity needs to be there in the refund policy?
I think we'd definitely like to see more on that, just to see how you're intending to handle that, so that we make sure that not only does the student know what they're getting, but also that there's some protection in there for them. If you have a school that is that you're partnering with, there needs to be some sort of relationship there that can be identified, because that student doesn't want to get to the end of the program if suddenly the other school changes their mind or can't perform on that end, and we leave students hanging in the middle of their program. Okay.
Well, and I just think of my friends who became teachers, right? And whatever college they were going to get a teacher's license, they had a partnership with a school system where they were going to do their student teaching, and that was laid out. So I think this is really exciting. I think the industry needs instructors, and I think this is really innovative. I think we just need more details about who your partner schools are going to be for that teaching component, whether that's one school, two schools, or 10 schools where your students will be placed for those hours. I think that would be very helpful.
Ms. Jones, if you'll visit our website or the board's website, under the rules, it will tell you the exact breakdown that will help you, and you can integrate that into this, into what you've presented. You've got to break down basically what the textbook says, but if you'll go to the state board's website, you can get that breakdown exactly how much time should be spent in what subjects, and you can use that identically in this and make sure that you do both cosmetology and barbering so they match identically what the board requires.
Okay, so can I ask, is the hours requirement and course breakdown that I have listed there, is that, does that need to be changed? Did you see that in the presentation, in what I sent to the board? Can you clarify if that is what you're needing, or if it needs to be something different? Because I have basic teaching skills for education instructors, 180 hours. Basic teaching skills for career education in the wellness industry, 40 hours, and the state board prep and lesson plan development, 75 hours. That's broken down there. So okay. Are you saying that needs broken down more?
So the breakdown that I'm looking at says orientation, 5 hours, basic teaching skills, 295, and then you've got two other things that are in there listed for 40 hours and 60 hours, which would actually be 400 hours, not 300.
Okay. I need to send the update. Yes, ma'am. So I just want to make sure that I have everything that I need to update correct and that I'm clear. And with the presentation of the 16 hours for the teaching plan, if they choose to teach, if I choose to have those hours with them presenting in front of a school, you guys want to see the actual school
Would be
and how
helpful
those
to
hours.
us, I think. It would be helpful just to make sure the school's in compliance with all the other state board schools.
Okay, that's what I want to clear on.
And I want to clarify a quick note. We've got a motion. We don't have a second yet, but for board members on page 174 that Chairman Gillihan pointed out, and Ms. Jones, this is that chart that you have with the week 20 hours and the breakdown. I just want to make sure that the board members realize this is, at least on this graph, almost exclusively online in Zoom. And is that the intent? Are you comfortable with 300 hours for our instructors that are going to be teaching our students to be almost through Zoom and online? It's just a question I'm posing given the graph. Just so if Ms. Jones is revising, that she kind of reconsiders those pieces as well.
The only place that I see that she has in person is on number 14.
Is what we've been debating, yes.
Right. And I think that there should be more in person.
In terms of the class meetings, so you want the Zoom hours to be in-person hours rather than on Zoom?
Yes, I think you need to have more in-person hours than what you have scheduled here.
Okay. Is there a number of hours that you all have in mind that the classroom should encompass?
No, but if I were taking a class and it was all going to be on Zoom, people don't get as much information from that as they do in person.
Well, I definitely understand. Well, take that. But I do work for an instructor program that has been approved since 2017 that is online, that the state board approved with the same setup. And the students have a 100% pass rate. And with working professionals, I'm inclined to, say that they are more willing. They're looking for online programs that gives them that flexibility to still work and manage their classroom hours online. So the online Cengage program, it allows them to download the module to their devices. They can have the text be read to them. They can do the activities in real time. I'm able to monitor remotely, and that works a lot better, especially considering we're still in pandemic times, and the average working professional is looking for a more flexible opportunity. So that's why the program is designed the way that it is, because it works better for someone who is actively in a salon.
I think the Zoom's a good. The Zoom is fine for your chapter stuff and everything. I believe. I think it a lot. It is flexible for them, and I just think that we just need more clarity in your presentation when you come back, so that we understand where you're placing these students at for their teacher training at the end.
Okay, so if they just were to come into the classroom and do the mock presentations or do it on Zoom, would that suffice? If we just X the whole and they just come in the classroom, would that suffice?
They have the ability to present to one another. So if you've got multiple instructors going through the process, then they can present to one another, and they might learn even more about their own presentation skills, seeing others present to them. So that is an option, but it's a business decision for you.
But they would take that
and throughout the
play.
I'm sorry, yeah. And throughout the curriculum, it's actually designed for them to do that. The activities in Cengage, if you go through some of those activities, the activities require for them to create presentations that they present to their peers. And I just felt, going through an instructor program myself and never having that opportunity to actually get the jitters out and present in front of a class, I just thought that addition to the program actually helped me prepare better for state board. So it can definitely be, my presentation in the classroom, but I just feel getting in front of a live students, learning how to engage them, learning how to take authority, learning how to, take that theory and actually put it into action before you go to state board in front of educators, and then get the feedback before you actually go. I just found that to be a really vital piece of information. Vital piece of teaching. And myself, I am working through the University of Memphis, getting a Master of Arts in teaching, so I understand the importance of that component. And I definitely understand the hands-on lesson planning. If you've never done that before, learning to develop objectives, use that verbiage is really, really vital, and it has worked successfully in the other programs that I've taught that have been approved by state board in the same way.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions from board members? We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second to have a represent on this?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to represent with the additional changes here.
Right, and those changes were the refund information and then quite a bit of clarification about the schedule and the hours and the teaching partners. Correct.
We have a motion by Patricia Parsons and a second by Judy McAllister. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan,
Yes.
Becky Russell,
Yes.
Judy McAllister,
Yes.
Patricia Parson,
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield,
Yes.
Frank Gambusa,
Yes.
Amy Tanksley,
Yes.
Susan Witcher,
Yes.
Janie Ross, Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jones. We'll be in touch. I appreciate the questions. We will move on to our next school. This is Legacy Master Barber Academy. It's a new barber school. It starts on your iPads on page 179. Mr. Wekias Hereford is participating telephonically. This school. Oh, you're here, sir.
That's my wife on there.
Thank you. That's what confused me. Thank you. I love it. I saw the last name. So Mr. Hereford is here with us, and the school is 3,350 square feet. It is located in Nashville. The school application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, contingency plan were all received timely. And again, the 15 contracts are not needed. So I'll have Mr. Hereford come up for any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Harry.
I didn't know if it was time for me to speak. I just wanted to say everything was rolling so smooth, and then bam! I said right before I get up here. But anyway, it's good to see y'all. I was like, Amen, amen. Still rolling, still rolling.
Thank you for coming in today. We
Yes, sir.
appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir. Thank you for having me.
Okay. You want to take just a minute and tell us a little bit about your school while the board's taking a look at your...
Okay. All right. So Legacy Master Barber Academy has been a dream of mine. I've been teaching, instructing since 2012. I've worked at Genesis Career College. I work at Nashville Barber Style College. And my whole goal was to create something closer to the city that people can, because I want to take barbering to another level. I want barbering to be like it should, prominent, because barbers make a lot more money now. It ain't no $5 haircuts no more. So I wanted to get to that level where not only are you paying, people are paying, people coming to town, they're doing different things with barbering. And we got opportunity now to take advantage of all these people coming in and really do something great. So my school is right around the corner. It's like walking distance from here. It's right across from the State Museum. If y'all know what Popeyes is on Jefferson Street, it's right next door. It used to be the Tennessee Baptist Convention building, so it was already made for a school. So it was just God's. I mean, He just came in and did something great for me. The school is going to be so nice. I have the location was my main concern. I think one problem we have in the schools today is the students don't get a chance to cut a lot of live heads. There's a lot of mannequin work, and I wanted to get where they get live heads. My time at Genesis was great, but we didn't get that live heads, and I wanted to get somewhere where they can cut live live heads. They, you know, in that area is growing, so it's all different type of people. I always tell my students, we don't see black, brown, white. We just see green, which is money. That's what we see. So I always tell them that. So we want to cut everyone's hair. We don't want to just be located to one type of general. We want everyone. So we're very excited. I'm very excited about it. It's located. So the location was my first reason for opening the school there, because I think we can get a lot done in that place. Plus, we downtown, so we can relate to the sound station, to the museums. We can do a lot in that area. The other thing was the building itself. It was already made for the school. I have nice hardwood floors all the way through. Y'all can come around there anytime, right down the street. But it's real nice. It's set up real good. The tornado had messed up the building, and it was a bad thing for them, but it was a blessing for me because they didn't want to move back in it. They got it redone and redone all the way up good. And the contractor actually was my uncle, and he worked on it, and he said, "Man, I think I found us a school." And I said, well, if we can make it work. And so we got in there. So everything is brand new. It's nice. I have the room set up, and I kind of set up everything in a way where it can be, with me being teaching for so long, I've learned, and not to toot my own horn, but since last July, I've had 43 students pass the barber test with their license. And so not to toot my home, but I will say I really love this. I'm passionate about it. If you check my records, I'm really good about teaching, but my main thing is getting them to understand how important this industry is. So not only are we going to be doing teaching barbering, but there's also going to be some financial teaching there. I think to keep our industry going, we got to start paying taxes, because through the pandemic, we realized they don't look at our industry like they should because we don't give back. So my main course is teaching them how to do their taxes right, how to report their income, so we can get more of a look at when the government is doing things. They look at our industry like, okay, they're giving back, so hey, we need to do something for them. I think we realized a lot of that during the pandemic, that our industry is not looked upon as proudly as it should be, and so I want to bring that back. I want to get our industry like it should be, especially the barbering part, get it back, to the promise that it need to be, and we can have a bigger effect, not just on our community, but the nation community when it comes to barbering and beautician. So that's what my school is going to be about, Mr. Gillen. I'm all about just trying to make it a big and make barbering big, because I love it. It changed my whole life. I just standing here before you guys, it almost got me in tears. I cried out there yesterday just to be able to do this, because I'm so happy that I'm getting this opportunity. I've seen a lot of you guys at the co-ed teaching stuff, and when we go get our instructor license, so just to be here with you guys today is just an honor in itself. So that's my presentation for why I want to do the school and what the school is going to be about.
Thank you so much. If we can ever get you to be able to overcome your shyness and your timidity.
I'm excited, Ms. Gunn. I'm excited.
I appreciate that.
It's great to see that excitement.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If we can, let's go ahead and jump off into his application and paperwork. Anybody else want to start off for us today, or?
Like the students that's going to get to go to this school once it's and going, it's going to be a blessing for them and for the people that they're going to, they're going to teach and they're going to learn, and they're going to be cutting some awesome hair. I can tell.
I can't wait. Very excited.
Alrighty. Well, I've got a couple of notes here. As anybody else wants to jump right in. As I'm going through your application, the first thing here that strikes me is on page 183 of ours. It's the first page of his contract. You're going to be a barber school, no Cosmo, just barber, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're going to have an instructor training program there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Carasma Moses is going to teach that, head that up.
Okay. On your contract, you don't have anything listed showing that you have a program for barber instructor on your very first page.
We looking at the enrollment agreement or the catalog?
We are looking at the enrollment agreement.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes,
So there's no information about that there.
And Mr. Gilham, page 188 of ours has the barber instructor course outline. I think the contract itself is what is missing it.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw the two of them in there in a couple of places.
You're absolutely right.
Is your school accredited now?
No, sir.
Yeah, shouldn't be. You're not open yet.
Right.
Okay. I did notice, I think I've got a note here that within here you've got a few comments about returning money to Title IV. It's going to be on page 236 through 238 of our reports, folks.
Okay. So on
9 and 10 of your document.
right, I'm looking at it now. So all it is just I know if that's what we're shooting for. So the person that my advisor that I'm working with this, he advised me to put it in the catalog because we're trying to get accredited. That's our goal. And so that's why we have put it in there. It doesn't affect the students that start now because accreditation take, I think, a couple of years to do that. And that's the only reason we put it in there. He advised me that would be the best thing to put in there, just to let because eventually that's something we do want to do. And so I understand why that's why it's in there, because I was advised to do that because they think that's the best way to handle that to go, because I know we do want that. And on 10, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm looking at the FERPA.
FERPA.
Okay.
Yes.
Still right. Okay.
That's the Federal Rights to Privacy Act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's what it's on there for, because we want to get accredited.
I just want to make sure that we're not confusing students and students see things like that, references to accreditation and so forth. Now, you've not said anywhere in there that you're accredited. That is a good thing, but want to make sure they're not being confused. So I don't recall, as I'm sitting here right now, if you have a statement in there that says that you're not accredited, but that would, just as a personal advice I give you, that'd probably be a good thing on that. That's not
I can take
advice.
that whole page out. You want me to, Ms. But yes, sir, I will do that. I will get that. I think I have a statement about I'm not accredited. I'm trying to remember what page that was on.
Okay, I see it. Actually, it's on the second page of your enrollment agreement at the bottom. I thought I had seen that in there, but I wasn't quite sure. So that's good that you have that, in my opinion.
But I will fix that other stuff. Thank you.
Okay. You do have your refund policies. I have a note that indicates that, I guess it goes back to your first page of your contract with the Barber Instructor Program, not having your hours for your curriculum for each one of those. Let's take a look at page 186.
Are you starting out with instructor training for barbers, or are you adding that?
Yeah, so I was just going to add that because I didn't know until I got approved I could even do the instructor thing. So only thing this is on here is just for I do have the hours broke down for the instructor, but I don't have it on the enrollment agreement because we hadn't tried to enroll any instructors because I thought I had to get approved. Right. That's just me. Just this thing I had to get approved for this before I could even add that program. So that's a whole nother thing. I could have did it all at once. I should have thought about that. That would have.
And if the board's comfortable with that, I can wait on that agreement. It'd be an identical agreement with just that added. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's easy to do. Okay.
If you could, I think I understand what I'm seeing here, but I'd like for you to. It's on page 186 in our documents, folks. You have your curriculum listed out here. I'm trying to help you find a page for you. Probably about page 4 or 5 for you. You have various curriculum items here and a series of numbers out beside them. What are those numbers? Are you trying to indicate those are hours of training on that program or something else?
That's what it is. Those are hours broke down for that particular program. All the hours. And what I did, I had to... And thanks to some help from a very nice lady, they let me go back and look at the hours and make sure they added up because I was still under the 450, but I found out there's just 300 for the instructors now, and I think that was the instructor hour page that was on.
Well, that's the instructor is the next component. Looking down, but while you're there, if you'll look at your Barber Instructor course outline, the first page of that, I guess. It's 188 for us. You have your curriculum broken down here, and I appreciate how you've got the other with your incremental hours listed. But if you see here under your lesson planning, required total hours, 100. Mm-hmm. Okay, you with me? I think that would be very helpful if you'd have these other hours in the Master Barber Program broken down so it indicates where that lines up with the state's curriculum.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, just almost exactly as you have it under the Instructor Program.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So I have it the way I want it. You want it the way that the state board has it. Because in my catalog, it kind of breaks down the hours. But I got you. I see what you're saying.
It's for the Master Barber Program, for instance. It's going to be so many hours for general, for chemical, and so forth.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you could, in that previous section under the Barber Stylist course curriculum, if you could kind of organize those and break those down more in line with what the state has. That's somewhat what we were alluding to in the previous application. Okay, so that we can make sure it's lining up exactly with the state.
I went through those hours and they look like good hours.
Mm-hmm.
As far as you've got the correct number of hours, if you will just rearrange them to be general, physical, chemical.
Gotcha.
So you're really just asking them to chunk them so that they balance
together.
to general,
Yeah.
physical, and chemical. Okay.
Like what you send in on your reports every month.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a nightmare later on trying to sort that out if we ever have a question. Also, you're calling your course a Barber Stylist course. Want to make sure those students understand that Tennessee doesn't give a Barber Stylist license. It's a Master Barber license. So you might want to take a look at that.
I'm looking at that.
Okay.
That was another advisor thing. They didn't know if it was barber or style. But when I was making it, so that's on. I got you with that. That's an easy fix. I can make sure I fix that. Because we're not having anything but barbers, no stylists, no cosmetology.
They're offering the cross training for Cosmo, right?
Like if they have Cosmo and they want to be a barber,
right? You're doing a cross training.
Offering that, yes, ma'am. If they want to be a barber,
so maybe that's what you had the stylist.
Mm-hmm.
I think I already mentioned this, but on page 236, I think it's page 9 of your paperwork, there's that reference to Title 4. I think we've already clarified that one.
I would suggest just taking Title 4 out, because when you go for approval, they'll make you do a whole ISS and complete catalog, and then that's when you would insert all your Title 4 stuff. That would be my suggestion.
Yes, ma'am. Makes sense.
I'd like for you to take a look at page 24 of your document. That's 210 for us. You've got a ratio of student to teacher ratio is 20 for lecture and 10 for lab. So we need to fix that. The ratio should be 15:1. Let's see. You also have a statement down below that says part-time is defined as anything less than 20 hours per week. And while that may be true for your school, it's not technically less than 20 hours a week. The rule is the minimum of 15. So it could say 15 to 20, but not anything less than 20, because 5 is less than 20, but not.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay, so change that to maybe 15 to 20 hours a week. Let's see. And let's see. 35 hours. I saw somewhere, I think it was on page 18 of yours. It says full-time is 35 hours and part-time is 20 hours. The class weeks on page 24, 52 hours at 35 hours a week is actually 1820. The 75 and 20 hours works out. So that math is correct, but that 52 weeks is incorrect. That is actually less. It's less than 52 weeks. Okay. So just check your math right there and clarify that. I mean, it
Should
could
have said
take
50.
them.
I don't know. It must have been a typo because it should have. I think it was supposed to be 50 hours right there. But I'll look at that and check it though. Thank you. You're on page 24 right there in the middle. Okay. 52 class weeks, 52 weeks. Class was 12.
Okay, your schedule down below that, that's a little bit confusing to me, but it looks like it says like the numbers 1 through 4. It looks like we've got 9 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. And I'm not sure what days of week or what and so how many days a week are they attending school?
Monday through Friday.
And their hours are what on what days?
The hours are going to be from the reason I have 8 to 5 because they get they do a lunch, but it's 9 to 5, 9 to 2, 11 to 5, and 2 to 9 will be their night hours, or they can do part-time at 8 to 12 and 5 to 9. Part-time hours.
So in other words, they can come full-time at night if they'd like.
Right, they can. At night. So the 2 to 9 will cover the 6 hours they need to be full-time for the night class, and then the 5 to 9 will be night class part-time.
Okay, I'm seeing 8 to 5, and then on number 2 it's 8 to 2. So can you explain that? I'm a little confused.
So 8 to 5, and I guess all it is just so when they doing the 8 a.m. to the 2 p.m. time slot, then that'll be their 6 hours. They don't do I don't have the lunch included in that, but the 8 to 5, the lunch is included in that. And that's why I made a mistake, because 8 to 2 is the 6 hours, and they still need a 30-minute lunch in that. And I didn't put that in there. But the 8 to 5 is including their lunch, and then 8 to 2 is not including the lunch.
Probably would have just put, open 8 to 9, and then when they come in their contracts, that's up to you for them to set their contracts.
Okay. So I didn't have to break it down like that on there. Gotcha. Okay.
For our members here, since we're talking about all these hours, on page 237 in our report, you have your hours listed as Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 midnight.
Oh, I did not put AM on there, did I?
Right. It actually says midnight.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what page would I be looking
Number
at on
10.
there?
This is page 10 on
10?
yours.
Okay, gotcha.
Like.
Gotcha. Just so my
What hour or which one is that?
This is page 237 for us.
That's actually the next school.
That's not mine. Yes, not mine.
Sorry,
yeah.
it's the next school.
Okay,
I apologize.
Because I had the note about it, and I was like, I don't think it's this good. Okay, sorry.
I moved down my list too far. Excuse me. I apologize.
That's all right. I was like, what? I put midnight. I ain't going to be there that long.
I had a note for that one, too.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was like, I ain't going to be there that long. Hey, Miss Roxanne was on it though. She was showing me, hey, this is what you got right here. Not that long, but I will adjust those hours to make it make more sense. What you said, the 8 to 9, just cover and let them do it on contract.
And then it's individual contracts.
Gotcha. Okay.
Make sure they get their hours.
So it won't be no
required.
confusion in that.
Okay, let's look at page 25 on yours. That's 211 for us.
Okay.
The breakdown here, I'm a little confused about. It says theory hours, and that's in blue. And then I'm seeing like 1,100 hours and 200 hours. And then if I move over to practical, it looks like you've got, so it must add up to 1,500 in each one of those areas. But that makes it sound like they're going to school for 3,000 hours.
I see what you're saying. Because they got practical start at 1,100 again. Yeah,
right.
I see what you're saying.
So we need to clean that up. I'm not really sure what you're trying to accomplish with this, but just making sure that we've got a total of 1,500. There is a minimum number of theory hours that you must teach. You can teach more than that, but there's a minimum number of hours that you must teach in a specific 1,500. So just making sure that it doesn't look like we've got 3,000 hours worth of time here.
Yeah, so doing the theory and practical, and I understand exactly what you're saying, is going to both be taught at the same time, so I didn't know how to put that in together. So I would just go back to when I made my curriculum, I broke it down a little different on there. But I did this for to kind of know that they're gonna be learning practical and theory during that same period of time. But I understand what you're saying. I don't want to be confusing to them at all.
So maybe what you should do is just remove the heading of
Practical
theory
hours.
hours and practical hours,
Yeah.
and just leave. It looks like you've got everything in under the heading theory hours. It looks like you've got everything in there. So maybe just remove the heading theory hours and just leave it as the breakdown, and remove that whole practical hours section, because that's just a duplication of what you had before.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what I would do.
And then on page 33, that's 220 for us, is showing a kit, the list of your kit supplies. Sorry, I'm trying to get there too. And this does not have in the kit everything that is required in a student kit under the rules of barbering. Specifically,
when I talk to the students about this particular thing, what I usually do, I let them know this is stuff that we're going to have here at the thing. That's why it says it's students' right to purchase the needed materials elsewhere if they want to, and this is if they want to purchase it. But this is stuff that we're going to actually. It's not really a kit that they're going to get. This is stuff we're going to have at the school per student to make sure they have to be able to use to work on. And maybe I should have made that more clear. And that's why I said, but this is a lower list of needed tools needed for the course. It's a student right to purchase the needed materials elsewhere, or if they want to get them if they want to, but we're going to have them there. And so that's why I made that right there. Let them know this is stuff that we're going to, per student, this is what they'll be able to work with at the school, the stuff that we're going to provide before they get their kit. So maybe I should have made that more clear. This is not for the kids, though. That's why I didn't put anything on here about a kit. But I understand where it could be looked at that, yeah. But it's just stuff that we're going to have here to be able to teach them, the stuff that we're going to have on call at the school, the materials we'll have for them to use when they start or while they're going through school. So maybe I should have made that more clear on there. I didn't mean for it to mean for kids.
maybe instead of a list of needed materials, maybe it's a list of supplied materials. If
Okay.
those are the ones that you're keeping on hand at school,
Okay.
then a list of supplied materials include.
Okay. Instead of needed materials. Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Gotcha.
Again, back at the website, it lists everything you have to have in the school. That's all you've got to provide.
Gotcha.
Anything else is on the.
That's the student kit
That's
that
the
you're
student
talking
kit,
about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see. You can see on the that back page on page 34. I don't know what page it's showing on you guys, but when you're talking about that 52 weeks, or that's something I have to check, because I knew I had 50 weeks on here. I don't know how that 2 got on there, but I know it's supposed to have been 50 weeks at 30 hours. It'd be the 1,500. I know we talked about that earlier. On that page 34 on the back, you can see that right there, and that's the page they actually signed. So, but I'll make sure I change that 2. I don't know how that 2 got on there, because I know it's supposed to be 50 weeks.
On page 195 of ours, this is just a simple question for you. You listed that, of course, you're seeking to be approved by us and that you're going to seek accreditation, but you also have listed a group called the Tennessee Barber Association. That's just a trade organization. It has nothing to do with regulations or anything like that.
Okay.
I think it would probably be a good idea to not
mention that.
Well, no, it's your business. You can mention what you like, but what I'm going to say is you don't want to present that in a way that makes a student think that that is an official regulatory body, because it may be confusing to them.
Gotcha. So basically, that should have said the Academy Seeking Institute approved by Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners, then and accredited by, and just take out the Tennessee Barber Association. I got you. Accredited by the National Credit. I got you. So I should just have that out.
Or list them as a trade organization or something, just to identify that they're not a regulatory body, because the other two are.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Roxanne had taken me. I thought I took that out. She talked to me about it. Yeah, I thought
I
I
would
took
take the
that out.
NACAS out of there
Gotcha.
completely.
I think that pretty well concluded my notes on this one. Anybody else have any questions or comments or discussion on this one? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for him to be approved with all the corrections and submitted to the board and to be inspected by a board member and a field inspector.
And I second.
I'll second that motion.
I would like to say that we're kind of bordering on a lot of corrections on this one, and I think that we're getting real close to that stage for myself that I'm getting close to having this cleaned up. I think that most of the things were simplified enough that it's just changing a number or a date or something here and adding one line. When we get into the curriculum issues, I think that generally takes a little bit more work. I'm kind of torn myself of having to represent or proving here. I could easily go either way. I think we're just right on that line. Just to
The only thing that I think tips the scale in one way or another is that the majority of what has been answered here for us today is not going against laws and rules. It's kind of a cleanup issue and suggestions that we're making more so than demanding that there be certain things. I think, looking back, the ratio of 15 to 1, if I'm not mistaken, is the only rule related issue that I'm seeing. Is that correct?
From my notes, it is.
I believe
Becky.
that's what I have.
Okay, so that one for sure
And
is
identifying the instructor program.
yes.
Those two are pretty minor.
Yeah. So with the exception of that, I think it's just clerical cleanup.
He did have the instructor program curriculum in there.
And just for the clerical cleanup, if you'll go back and rewatch this meeting, just so that you're sure that you're ticking all those boxes.
What I'm doing, and I thought my mic was off. I was going to jump in when you said so. But my wife is on the phone. Hey, she is, Kim, you on the phone? Okay, well, I thought she was still listening, but she is, because she just.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm taking notes.
Okay, so
she's making corrections.
She's making corrections as we speak, taking notes. She does contracts for MTA, so that's what she does. So she's probably so mad at herself right now for the little stuff, and we both went over together. But Mr. Gillum, these things will be fixed ASAP. Like I said, she's doing them as we speak now, because a lot of them is just things that we can easily go to the Tennessee.gov and should have just went by that list. I was trying to be just outstanding, make up my own thing. I should have stuck to the basics and kept it simple. And Ms. Russell, you pointed out a lot of stuff is just simply just on it's right there on the Tennessee.gov. I can easily go to it. I just tried to make it extra. That's my fault. Yeah. Should have just kept it simple. Should have just kept it simple.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or anything from the board members? Okay. We've got a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Roxanne, you want to call the roll?
Absolutely. Thank you. By roll call vote. And this is a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons, a second by Monica Lemons to approve pending all of the revisions made that are recorded as well as in our notes. Mr. Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Ms. Becky Russell.
Yes.
Judy McAllister.
Yes.
Patricia Parsons.
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield.
Yes.
Frank Gambusa.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley.
Yes.
Susan Witcher.
Yes.
Janie Ross. Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Awesome, thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Good luck.
Thank you, board members. We are moving on to our next school application. This is PPG Academy of Artistry. This is a new cosmetology school. Starts on page 224 of your iPads. Ms. Anjanea Burns is participating telephonically with us. This school is 3,300 square feet. It is located in Memphis. The new school application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, and contingency plan were received timely. I will let the members continue to look at the documents and ask any questions. Ms. Burns, thank you for participating with us.
Thank you.
We're going to take just a moment for our members here. If you'd like to take just a moment and tell us a little bit about your school, we'll be happy to listen.
Okay, PPG Academy of Artistry, it represents, PPG is passion, patience, growth. It's just a sense of having our students show ethics and values, business survivorship and entrepreneurship for individuals, letting them have a modern touch to the industry, because now we're going through many different trendy techniques and creative ideas in the industry, not limited to being aware of their credit and things of that nature.
Thank you very much.
Becky, are you going to ask about the midnight situation?
Okay, that's where we can start. So on page 10, that's our 237, you have listed that your hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to midnight. Is that correct?
Where is that in the agreement, the enrollment agreement, or the catalog?
It's your page 10.
Well, I can tell you that's incorrect. I don't see it. I don't see it, what you guys are talking about. Page 10. But that's incorrect. The hours are from 8 to 5.
And is that Monday through Friday?
Oh, okay. I see what you're looking at. You're looking at the FAFSA government assistance. That's the center hours of their operation, Eastern time.
Okay. Well, that
yeah.
clarified a lot for us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We were impressed with your ambition.
I was trying to figure out who's staying up till midnight teaching.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so your correct campus hours, that is 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday and Saturday 9 to 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
No Fridays?
No Fridays.
Okay.
On your page 5, for us, it's 232. You've got an item that's identified as student supplies. Is that what you're calling your state board kits, or is that supplies that are going to be used through the program?
Well, for that, you're talking about items 1 through 8 that
Yes, ma'am.
Insert right there. Well, that insert is also for my FAFSA, because of course I want to be accredited. But I also have my other tuition and financing. I apologize, it's not in. You guys cannot view it, but I have it as my registration, uniform, books, tuition, and kids is broken down. I can email it. I'm not sure if you guys want to view it, but
Well,
everything is already printed out.
if it's a cost that's going to be passed to the student, it needs to be identified in your enrollment contract.
Correct. When I did this type up, I wasn't aware of what I wanted my tuition to be. So I've gone through that process and got everything together, and I have it typed now.
You are not Title IV accredited yet either?
No, ma'am, I'm not accredited.
Confusing. Title IV.
Ma'am?
I said it's a little confusing with the Title IV language in here.
Well, I have it highlighted to where it is that doesn't apply as of now. And I have an X next to where it's not currently available.
If we can take a look at page 233 and page 6 for you at the very bottom, self-pay students. When I look at this, it doesn't quite seem to make sense. As you're reading it, I understand the business days and that and so forth. What are you actually trying to say here? Is this that you can prevent a student from attending, or it just doesn't make sense? And I think I noticed that in a couple of places.
I mean, as being a student myself, I know some students are able to self-pay for their tuition, but some students aren't. So I have another type of financial assistance for them. It's just that the financial aid that I have that says not currently available, I was thinking of FAFSA, and I didn't actually put FAFSA on there. So that maybe, can that kind of, or you just want me to take it out?
No, I'm not telling you to take anything in or out. I'm just wanting to understand what I'm reading here. I don't like to do this, but maybe it'll make more sense if I read this out loud. The student agrees to pay the academy the tuition and fees or the program of choice in advance 5 days prior to the first day of class without notice to the student until the balance is paid to the academy. That statement doesn't seem to make sense to me. I don't know what you're trying to tell the student if they're going to have payments made on their behalf, but they're not going to receive notification. The students are supposed to receive receipts for any monies they pay, or if you're going to have them not attend class until payments are made. It just doesn't make sense to me. Does anybody else see it that way?
What page is it? And is it the catalog or the agreement?
It's page 6 of your documents. I guess it's in your agreements because this is all the first section I'm seeing.
And Ms. Burns, they have it in the same order that I emailed it to you, so you can kind of follow that. But page 2 is your mission statement, and it's page 6 of those documents.
I think I worded it wrong. I was just basically trying to say, if you paid in advance prior to that, to the class date, the scheduled class date.
That makes sense. My question is, what's going on with the student without notice to the student? What do we mean by that?
That's a typo. I didn't want to put without. It's supposed to be with notice.
Okay. Okay.
Hello?
Oh, we're here. We're just reviewing your documents. Okay, here's one that's a little bit lighter nature on typos. Under item 8 on page 8, number 1 at the bottom, your last sentence says that something about the notification is received, and I think you're executing the director, just like we were exploding a school earlier.
You're speaking of return of title, 5 funds?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
refund policy?
On that
Well,
last
that's
sentence,
also,
that's just a typo.
yes, sir, but that's also FAFSA, which is not available right now, but I would change that as well, for that typo.
I'm sorry, I'm seeing a lot of the schools getting ahead with the federal aid and the FAFSA, and all they're really wanting to do is get approved to have a school. And I feel like that
kind of like motivation.
When you put all the Title IV stuff and refunds and all that in their form, you're not offering it. I don't think it should be presented to us because that's a financial decision for your business.
Yes, ma'am. I will remove it.
Some of the other board members do not understand what all that comes down to. They might understand it. I'm not saying they don't. They don't have a school. So unless you're involved with it, you don't really understand it. So it's kind of confusion for some of the board members.
And it gives the impression that your school might be accredited to a student who is looking for that. So,
saying that on.
I'll speak as one of those board members.
Thank you.
You know, because I'm not a school owner and I don't have experience with all the behind the scenes work that a school owner has, which is why I stay pretty quiet during these presentations because y'all know the details far better than I ever will or want to be candid. But yes, I mean, from what I understand, you know, the accreditation is well outside of the bounds of what this board is set up to do. Okay. And none of our rules and laws that we are working to implement and follow and encourage everyone to follow has anything to do with financial aid accreditation. And so, yes, I agree, you know, in these contracts, if you are not accredited financial, or even if you are accredited, those rules, those whatever you need in your contract is outside of the scope of what we do.
It's a whole new beast.
I don't even want to know what y'all go through for that. I really don't.
But I think that in the presentations, they really need to be aware of what they're presenting to us as a board.
Well, and ultimately how a student chooses to pay for school is also outside of the bounds of what we do, right? That's in your contract. Those contracts are between the school and the student. But I think, you know, to your point with all of the due diligence our board does with the details, it's to set school owners up for success by pointing out where their contracts are maybe not as good as they could be or confusing.
You know, we're here to make sure the student's getting what they need and understand what they're signing on to.
I agree.
Page 238 of our presentation, and that would be 11 for you, Ms. Jones. You have a table here, and unfortunately this comes down to your tuition, which is required to be in your contract. This seems to be dealing with refund policies, and I'm not going to retrace all the different places where I may have seen a word here and there, but my note is that the table on page 238 does not consistently agree with statements regarding your refund situations throughout your document. In other words, you may have a different percentage in one place or a different statement of how a refund is going to be handled. That is a requirement for the board to have a refund policy, and I believe that this one has some errors throughout. So that's going to need a serious look.
I apologize again, but that is also, according to the FAFSA, my refund policy is in the catalog on page 6.
On your page 6. That is
Yes, sir.
233 for us. On your page 6, I don't see a refund policy.
And the catalog,
A refund policy is required to be in your contract, in your enrollment agreement, not just a catalog.
okay, it's in here as well. Page 20 of the agreement.
47 of your full document.
Again, the information in that table does not necessarily agree with what you've got on page 20. And I can see that a student would be completely confused or lost on that.
The table is, once again, I apologize for the FAFSA input, but that table is according to that. So to not be so confusing, even though I put that it's not currently available, I can remove all of the FAFSA information that I have included.
Roxana, can we ask that new school applicants, if they aren't accredited, that is a separate?
I do that. I actually mention, now it's not in statute, so I can't make them do certain things.
It is encouraged.
But the first thing I do, I need everything 30 days in advance. As you all know, it rarely happens, so I'll give them a week or two extension. And after that, I no longer review the documents because sometimes they continue coming in. But that is one of the first things I encourage. If you're doing hair braiding courses, take it out. We don't have to approve that. If you are being accredited, you're better off, is what I say, to not include it because it is confusing and then it just muddies what we're looking at. So we get stuck on pieces that could be confusing to the students, and your role as board members is to protect the public and the students. So we talk about it, but oftentimes it's still in there.
Amy, and the rest of the members, if it helps you to understand a little bit, without getting too far into the weeds, once the school is accredited, then a lot of these items are required to be in the contracts and catalogs and all that. Whenever I'm pointing out some of these things, I'm really not, I hope it's not misunderstood. I'm not trying to tell people not to have it in there, to put it in there. That's their business. What I'm really looking at, and when I point these things out, is when there's a discrepancy between what this item says versus what this item says, so it sets them up at odds for each other. If they're the same, if the policy reflects what's being stated in the contract, then there's not a problem with that. It's just when the numbers and the statements don't line up, that's when I really point those things out when I see them.
Oh, I totally get it. Yes.
Okay.
And from the legal reports we've reviewed for years, right, when there's a discrepancy with a student and a school, it usually comes back to how clear the contract is to protect the student and the school, to resolve any conflicts.
Hello, Rod. This is Mona.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I'm sure that the attempt, to put the language in there from NACAS, but even the scope of practice under esthetician in her contract, it's just different than our scope of practice, and it would be very confusing and misleading because her description includes like scalp massage, and estheticians in Tennessee don't really do that, and it also mentions threading, and estheticians do not do threading. So she'll have to address those scope of practice also so that it would not be misleading.
Thank you, Mona. I appreciate that. Okay.
What page, Ms. Mona, are you referring to?
It's 4. Hey, you have instructor, natural hairstylist, manicurist, nail technician, esthetician at the bottom. And there's a description which I would imply scope of practice, but that's not, it would be misleading. And scope of practice is definitely on the Tennessee government website under cosmetology.
Okay, I will fix that.
Have any other questions or input, curriculum items such as those?
So I'm going to move on to the next section, which is student handbook, I think. On page 7, which is our 254, it mentions the Instructor Program, but I did not see that in the Enrollment Agreement. It also does not specify if that's instructor trainee or junior instructor. Did I miss that somewhere in the Enrollment Agreement?
I have a program of choice. And on page 4, instructor at the top.
In the enrollment agreement, so the paperwork that the students are actually signing to enroll in your class, is it included either instructor trainee or junior instructor in that enrollment agreement?
I have instructor, it's 300 hours. Where is it?
So if we go back to pages, it looks like 2, 3, and 4, I can see that they are, that you all would be filling out if they are cosmetology 1500, natural hair, nail technician or manicurist, esthetician, but I'm not seeing anything about the instructor.
That's another typo. Oh my gosh.
Page 1.
Yes, that's another typo. It's supposed to be in there. Going from catalog to the agreement, I would add it in there.
There is one on page 228 that lists instructor training 300 hours on our iPads, but it just is a checklist. I just feel there's a lot of confusion, and I'd like to make a motion for her to clean it up, refer to the state website, and represent to us at our next board meeting, please. That's a motion.
Before we go any further, I just wanted to make sure that we are giving her all the information she needs. Also on page 10, it says something about a flexible schedule, and that's a little confusing as to what that flexible schedule would be. And I think that needs to be specified so that a student is clear about, is a flexible schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday? What is a flexible schedule? And then also on our page 261, it doesn't have a page number for you. I think it's the last part. The contingency plan, I don't feel like is complete. It's saying that the landlord is going to take responsibility to move you all somewhere else within a 1 mile radius. But if that's normally, that would be a contingency plan would include another school that they might attend, or that you would be going online. I'm not really sure what is being said in the contingency plan, but I feel like that is incomplete.
Okay, that's the flexibility. It's supposed to be asynchronous. So it's going to be in person and virtual, asynchronous.
It's saying in this one that the landlord would move you to another building of the same size and space in your contingency plan. But if the school, whatever, burned today, is there an identical school that they also own? Because that's what it sounds like. Like there's an identical school set up already. When in reality, if a landlord did move you, it's likely that you would need to rebuild in a different location or make that space what it needs to be, and it would need to be inspected. So the contingency plan, is that going to give them a break in enrollment if something happened to your school? I'm just not clear about what the contingency plan says. That's all.
The contingency plan so far is that it's just a spacing. Another space will be available. That's what I was saying in there.
Okay.
I just need.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just about to say, so you want me to have a specific, like a suite number or a specific address within a mile's radius from my current location?
So it says that, let's see, the space will be improved to such a manner that the new premises will be capable in its interior design, decoration, and requirements to the premises. So that the landlord would own another building, but how long would it take to prepare that building before you could continue school? So that's not really a contingency plan if the students are dropping enrollment during that renovation time.
It's sort of a short-term, long-term, right? I mean, if your school
burnt down or
whatever happens, right, is unavailable tomorrow, where do the students go tomorrow or the following week? And I think to Becky's point, another location that's set up the same would take a lot longer than a week to get set up potentially. So is there another school to partner with in the short term that would be more immediate? Is that the concern?
Yes. Teach out program.
Yeah.
Temporary.
Okay.
Reciprocal with another school that could also maybe use your space if they ran into trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
I had one more question for you, if you don't mind. On page, I'm sorry, did you, you created this paperwork, you created these contracts and catalogs and everything yourselves, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So on page 243 of our reports and page 16 in yours, item number 17 says PPG Academy of Artistry is authorized by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. Are you actually authorized by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission at this time?
Ms. Burns?
Yes, I'm here.
My question to you was, are you actually authorized by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission at this time? Burns?
I'm not. I think it must be another typo, sir. I'm trying to.
Well, now you just told me that you created this document, and that is it's not a letter or a number. That is a specific statement with a paragraph of information that goes with this that specifically says you are authorized by another authorizing agency in the state of Tennessee. That's a pretty big statement, ma'am.
I'm an educator.
Oh, ma'am, this is about your school. This specifically says the PPG Academy of Artistry is authorized by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission which by chance I also serve on in the post-secondary committee. If you can tell me where your school is listed on that, I'd really like to look that up. I searched our records previously for the Higher Education Commission, and I could not find your school in there.
I was thinking it was me as an instructor, not my school. So I guess that's the wording. My wording is off.
Well, that wording shouldn't be there at all because that's a direct statement.
Yes, sir. I will remove it.
There's no other questions or discussions. We have a motion at this time to represent. Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second, and I would just say if you've got any questions to please give Roxana a call. Her office is happy to help you as you're cleaning this up, in hopes that the next time you represent, this is a pretty easy approval. I think we'll look forward to that. So I'll second the motion.
Yeah, and check the website, please.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Burns, this video will be available in a couple days, so you can rewatch it some as well. Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Amy Tanksley by roll call vote, and this motion is to represent at the October meeting with all the items mentioned. Mr. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Ms. Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parsons? Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. We have 2 school items to do, and then on our agenda, we have a summary suspension at 11. Mike, do you think we can proceed, or do you want us to interrupt? It's not quite 11.
If possible, I'd like for us to maybe have about a 10 or 15 minute break.
Okay, that
before
sounds
we come
good.
back
Board
to
members will probably need a break. We'll take a break and stop recording since we've gone so long. I know we've got a few people after the school presentations. We'll try to skip to them while they're on the phone. So Laura, if you'll take us on a break as well, we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me, John?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. And thank you all for waiting. We took a quick break. We are going to continue with the items as the agenda has them, and we'll be doing the summary suspension a little bit later. I know we've got other individuals on the call that have been waiting, so for those reasons, we're going to proceed. And I believe our next item that we stopped at is the Professional Beauty College. This is a new specialty natural hairstyling school. That particular item begins on page 262, board members. And I know we have Ms. Celeste Harris. Thank you for your patience and participating telephonically. This school is located in Memphis. We have received the application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, floor plan catalog, and the contingency plan. And with our specialty schools, those 5 contracts are also no longer needed. Ms. Harris, however, did have them and turned them in. So I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan, for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Do we have a representative from the school online?
Yes,
Okay.
Ms. Celeste is, and that school is Professional Beauty College.
Very much. Ms. Celeste, would you like to tell us a little bit about your school as we're taking a look at your submission?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to have been present before you guys for the last 5 years with different items that I bring before our industry. 35 years of doing hair, teaching, loving the industry, nourishing the industry, mentoring the industry. I've been pushed into a school, which I am welcoming at the time. I enjoy teaching others around the world our industry and how to actually operate as a solidified business and legitimate. And I wanted to take our industry back years ago, and we started the Instructor Program for continuing ed for their licensing with the state of Tennessee. And it has pushed me into going a little further and going into the classroom and bringing more information to students about hair so that they can be better in the industry and take better care of our society, our communities, and get off of the YouTube situation. So for natural hair, it has been a challenge, and I wanted to pull my expertise and my colleagues' expertise, Ms. Pearl Walker and Ms. Linda Marshall, into the industry of teaching other people and upcoming natural stylists what it is that it takes to be successful in the industry. And the school will offer the natural program for apprentice as well as a full-time student for the full program. We will have on-site, in-class, and virtual learning, as well as we will have on-site patronizing clients and giving them the opportunity to work on live bodies and clients and get that customer service in the field of everything. So the school is a great addition to my company that I have and to my well-being into the industry. So that's a little bit about the school, and I don't want to take up too much time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that input. I want to say I do appreciate you having your hours login sheets that your salon professional trainers are responsible for signing. It's good to see that in there. I appreciate that.
No problem. I am familiar with how everything goes and how things should be. So I wanted to make sure that you all understood too, that I wasn't just a fly-by-night trying to open a school, or I wasn't prepared. I am very well aware of how you all like to see things.
Okay. As you've heard us mention a few times today already, as we're talking about Title IV financial aid, I see that you have some information in here. You're not accredited at this time, correct?
That is correct. I do not have anywhere in my verbiage that I am accredited. The paperwork was created by legal hirees for me. So when they created the documents, it's going to save money, you want to create the documents up front so that they are long-term accessible and usable for you. Every time you ask them to change things, it costs. So there were some instances where I was able to go in and say, hey, listen, I don't want to say anything or do anything that's going to be confusing or not correct at the moment. So I will be paying more money and going back to the drawing board and putting more things that have to be in the catalog and the paperwork later once we get to that stage, because it'll take us about 2 years to get to that point.
Right. As I went through your file and was reviewing your information previously, I really didn't see anything that stood out to me as being any indicator of anything concerning. I felt like you had a pretty good presentation. I would like to see a statement in there at some place just identifying that you are not currently accredited, just so the students couldn't be confused by that. And I think that would be the only suggestion I would make at this time.
Ms. Harris, how many students will be attending at the school? So not virtual, but at the actual school?
Right now, we have 4 students that would like to be physical, on hand, and in class. And until COVID gets itself under control, we will not allow for in class until this is better and things are more certain for us. And I'm not excited about COVID, but I am going to definitely keep it to a minimum in person so that we stay safe. I don't want to risk anything. So the virtual is going to be more students as opposed to physical in present. If the space won't allow for it, we won't do it. I'm just not going to put anybody at risk of being in class. But once this is over, then I plan to resubmit a bigger space and have more students available to come in and be present in class, if that answers your question.
On your floor plan, can you tell me in the clinic floor area how many stations will be? There will be, it looks like there's 2 shampoo units. How many stations will be available on the clinic floor?
Right now, we will only have one, simply because we can only service one client at a time with the spacing and the social distancing. So it's just one model or one client that can be serviced at a time. So it's going to be one station. And I read in the online in the rules and laws that we had to have 2 shampoo units. So we put in 2. I would have preferred 1. So if that's not correct, please correct me.
The requirements for specialty schools have been a little different than a full cosmetology or full barbering school, but it is generally the rule that the number of students that you're taking, so based on a 20-to-1 ratio, there's 20 chairs and tables in a theory classroom and 20 stations. So I really would like to see that mirrored, how the number of students that you plan to take would also have stations at your school.
Well, I hear you, I'll thank you, but I'm not for sure how that would logically work, in that all 4 of the ones that are currently going to be in place are not at the same time. I have 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening that want to do classes, and then we have all of the days that are available for them to do to pick the times, and it's flexible in that. So if it's only one person that can be serviced at a time in the space as far as being worked on, then there will be no need for 2, or if it's 2 people in class, one would not be able to service another client at the same time. So even if they're working on the same model or doing the same, working on the same client, they wouldn't be able to perform the same exact service at the same time, based on what we're doing with COVID. So, and then with the specialty school, my understanding was that we didn't have to go by the exact regular cosmetology school. I don't see how we can mirror it if it's different. So what I read was 2 shampoo bowls, and it didn't have a number of stations other than at least 1. So I'm just going by what you all put in place.
Part of that to consider as well, and is the fact that she's taking on apprentice students. So if at any given point all of her students were apprentice, you wouldn't have the square footage for the practical hours at all. I've got on your iPads, board members, the updated inspection sheets for the schools. I'm trying to, it's at the very end, not to make you skip, but our revised rules that went into effect June 13th actually have the equipment for the specialty schools, whereas prior to these rules we didn't have them. I'm going to see if I can quickly see natural hairstyling. Okay, so the equipment for a natural hairstyling school, theory classroom, timesheet, clock, all those items we know, blood exposure kits. So those are the basic items. 1 workstation with adjustable chair per student working on the clinic floor. And I think that's what you're referring to, Ms. Becky. So if you recall, Celeste, we used to be have to have 5 contracts to start these specialty schools, and therefore it would have been 5 stations for them. But now it's a minimum of 1 per student on the clinic floor, 1 straight chair in the classroom per student attending class, 2 shampoo bowls. And that's where you got the shampoo bowl. So that is absolutely correct. 2 hooded dryers. So I think if I'm reading this on page 362 of your tablets, I think the minimum equipment is what she has on her floor plan based on these changes.
Roxanne, I just want to double check here. The natural hair hours are 300 hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then on, and this just popped up on page 267 on her first page of her contracts enrollment agreement. Under the natural hair care apprenticeship, she only has 150 hours listed there.
For apprenticeship. Because that's half in the school and the other half in the salon.
Wouldn't that still need to identify that student's doing 300 hours, 150 in-house, 150 out?
Yes, somewhere. Yes, okay. Yes. Are you on page, I apologize, 267?
267. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, Ms. Celeste, did you understand that?
I do, and I understand that, and it's in the documentation. Mm-hmm. It just may not be in the ones that you have. It may be in one of the student forms that they actually fill out, and it is also on our explanation on our webpage. And I'm very, very, very well aware of that. And I've done apprentice programs 3 different times with other schools as a 10-year professional. So I'm aware of it, and it's in one of the documentations that I have. I just may have not attached it because it wasn't required to be attached, but yes, I do have that in my documentation. Okay. And I'm going to try to look and see what actual form I have, and I can send that over to Roxana if you need it.
On your
see that it's in.
On your PBC enrollment contract, and it's not numbered, I think what Chairman Gillihan is referring to is your second line, natural hair care apprentice, 150 hours. It looks like that's the total, 150 hours. And so somewhere on that line or below it, you do need to state 150 in the salon or under a supervising professional, something, because the total isn't 150, it's still 300. I think that was his point.
That's exactly right.
I got you. Gotcha. Okay. Well noted.
I did find it on page 272 of our presentation in the enrollment agreement, the apprentice agreement. It does state it there, so I think maybe just duplicate that same information.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
On our page 286, it speaks about an instructor program. As with all of the schools that we've spoken to before, please include instructor trainee, even though it says the hours there. We just want to be clear for the instructors that enroll that they are not junior instructors, but rather instructor trainees, just for the clarification of the law. I think in this, let's see, can you clarify the hours of operation and for full and part-time?
Let me get to what you are looking at.
Can you tell me what, I guess, what page your hours of operation are on? Maybe that's what I needed to ask.
Okay. It is on page 4 for me. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
It's
Monday and Tuesday. I'm sorry, you said what now?
No, you're fine. Keep going, Celeste.
Monday and Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. And this is the full window given the morning shift and the afternoon with lunch not put on here because I didn't think I needed to put the breaks and everything in there. But they will have no longer than 2 hours that they'll meet and not have a break. Also, on Saturday, there will be hours from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, I think I just overlooked your hours of operation. I just needed to see that that was in there. Thank you.
Okay. And then also, I'm sorry, there's also the days broken down what we will not be in session.
I see that. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we've heard the changes and the suggestions that we've made. Do we have a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion that we can approve this pending the suggested changes. Are we okay with the office reviewing those for approval? That's my motion.
I'll second.
We want the inspector or a board member to go?
Yes, as a new school, I suppose there should be a board member and a field inspector.
Thank you. We have a motion by Amy Tansley and a second by Judy McAllister to approve pending the few corrections that were mentioned by roll call vote. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Gambusa?
Yes.
Amy Tansley?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Jamie Ross? Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We will move on. The last school item to be presented is an extension for classroom. This is Cure Advanced Aesthetics, and that item starts on page 290 of your iPads. Ms. Hendricks, are you on the call with us? As the board is aware, if there is no significant change that impacts the public or the layout of the practical hours, an extension is reviewed. You have a floor plan. I believe her email has been presented, and then she did give us a floor plan as well. This school expansion is in Memphis. The school is adding more classroom space to the floor above the existing location. It doesn't impact any of the services to the public. It is strictly classroom space, and I do want to clarify, as we have some board members with us that own schools, that it does not include any running hot water, as this is classroom only. Do you have any questions that we need to send Ms. Hendricks? Otherwise, we would just need a motion and add this to her file.
School's in good standing?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I make a motion that we approve the additional classroom space.
Second.
We have a motion by Amy Tansley, a second by Patricia Parsons. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Gambusa?
Yes.
Amy Tansley?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Board members, I will go ahead and turn it over now to the legal section to Michael Underhill and let him determine what order he wants to proceed. Thank you. And the legal report on your tablets, as well as the summary suspension piece, you'll need to hit the library tab. They were just large documents, so they're saved separately. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Pam Spicer. Good to see everyone. I apologize for the delay. We had printer issues, but I am going to pass out a response to you all that Mike will discuss in just a moment. For the benefit of those of you that are present, the response is in regard to last-minute cuts related to the summary suspension conference that you're about to hear from Mr. Underhill about. We're going to give you a few minutes to review the response. It's my understanding that for the board members that are participating remotely, that's been emailed to you if you have a chance to open that. Thank you.
morning, everyone.
And to our board members on the call, Mr. Gambusa, Ms. Appenfield, Ms. Witcher, I went ahead and emailed you the document. We just received this, or there was no way you could have reviewed it earlier, so everyone is seeing it for the first time. I just want to let you know, in case you don't have access to your email, if you could take a quick minute. It was emailed to you just a little bit ago. Thank you.
Okay, this is an informal summary suspension conference pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 45320 regarding last-minute cut School of Barbering and Cosmetology, specifically the Barber School license number 29 and the Cosmetology School license 92. With regard to statutory notice under 45320 D1A, a notice letter with the attachments of the joint consent order, the notice of hearing and charges, and then the attachments of the agreed order and statement of understanding, as well as the March 23rd, 2021 inspection file of inspectors Melissa Hudson and Terry Barnes were sent by Federal Express packet to the school and addressed, and was delivered on Wednesday morning, July 28th of 2021. It is my understanding that Ms. Harris, in her response, is not represented by counsel and has indicated that she will not be participating by telephone today. And that was in response to an email that I sent her Friday morning giving her the teleconference number and the WebEx information for her to be able to participate. So with all that being said, that response was received during the meeting today, roughly about 9:30. I've not had a chance, since obviously I've been in the board hearing, to review that in its entirety and thoroughly, as the board has not been able to. I submit that it's not timely. However, I realize the board does need time to review it. And so I would ask the board, how does the board wish to proceed in this matter now that we have this response before the board members?
Ron, not read.
I was saying it's difficult for us to act without having time to review something, and I would agree with you. This was not timely, but we do need to take some opportunity to review. This may take a bit of time. Do we have any input from the members on how you'd like to handle this? My suggestion would be that, what is our time now? 11:47. If the members are comfortable with postponing a lunch or anything like that for just a bit, we could stay and review this quietly and then proceed at the attorney's discretion. Okay? Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
Hey guys, this is Frank Gambusa. I'm somewhat at a disadvantage. My our company server is down, and I was not able to receive the last minute email.
Thank you, Frank. I'm so sorry, and we all get the technology pieces. I will let Mike kind of guide us. I don't know if he's, maybe while we're reading this, if you want to explain why the summary suspension and some other pieces to it that the members might have viewed ahead of time regarding the summary suspension. And then obviously, since you've reviewed those preliminary documents, now at least we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 members here present that do have it in paper, that can share some of their thoughts or concerns or questions for those that weren't able to see it. And we can kind of go, at least get an idea of what the summary suspension's about. And
before I do that, will we need a roll call vote to go forward before I do give that?
We can do that.
We can do that, yeah.
Can we have a motion to proceed with this
summary hearing?
Summary hearing.
Make a motion to proceed with summary hearing.
A second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to proceed with the summary suspension hearing of the school last minute cuts. 2 different licenses being presented. License number 29 for the Master Barber School license and license number 92 for the Cosmetology School license. The motion is by Patricia Parsons, the second by Ms. Judy McAllister, and by roll call vote to proceed with the hearing. Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Becky Russell.
Yes.
Judy McAllister.
Yes.
Patricia Parsons.
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield.
Yes.
Frank Gambusa.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley.
Yes.
Susan Witcher.
Yes.
Janie Ross.
Yes.
And Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. So you can proceed.
With regard to this matter, and specifically, we're dealing with 2 school licenses. Barber School license number 29, that was initiated on September 27th of 2002 and is currently active through September 26, 2021. And with regard to Cosmetology School license number 92, that license was initiated on May 2nd, 2005 and is currently active through September the 1st of 2021. Typically in these types of hearings, we give a complaint history with regard to each respondent. Going back through the complaint histories of both schools, they essentially go back to the early 2000s. But I think for purposes of this hearing, and with regard to the agreed order and statement of understanding, which I previously provided to the members, and you can find that at page 3 in the summary suspension documents. And I'll summarize this document, but basically you can see from the caption that there's roughly about 9 complaints that this one piece of litigation encompasses. And this is a snapshot from 2014 and 2015. And this agreed order essentially settled that one piece of litigation and all 9 of those complaints. And the respondent, Ms. Quanah Harris, who's the owner of both schools, agreed to several things back on September the 29th of 2017. But interestingly, and for purposes of this hearing, she did agree to the fact that she would comply with all state statutes and regulations regarding sanitation and maintenance of equipment for both of her schools. And in addition to that, she also agreed going forward as part of settling all that litigation that she would comply with all laws and regulations of the Barber Act and the Cosmetology Act going forward. I believe that to be important because now when we come to this summary suspension hearing, those facts seem to play in to that attempt to have a full annual inspection of both schools. Coming back to the summary suspension conference, the statutory issue, as always for the board, is stated in 45320 as whether the public health, safety, or welfare imperatively requires emergency action by the board. And I would add on to that issue to suspend both licenses. You know, when we say summary suspension, we mean that temporarily. And obviously that would be pending a final hearing, which I presume the board knows we have a final hearing set at the next board meeting on October 4th with the board and an administrative law judge, and that will be a revocation hearing with regard to both school licenses. So with that issue in mind, the factual allegations are contained in the inspection report of Ms. Melissa Hudson. As the board knows, an annual inspection was performed of both schools here recently, and what I mean by that is back in March the 23rd of this year, where the department sent not one but 2 seasoned state inspectors who do work for the board, Terry Barnes and Melissa Hudson, to inspect both schools. And the that inspection report has also been provided to the board members, and that starts on page 60 of the iPad materials. With regard to each school, Ms. Hudson did a fantastic job of going through all the discrepancies for the Barber School and for the Cosmetology School, and also notated same, not only in her 3-page report, but in also the 1-page inspection sheets, one for the Barber School and the other for the Cosmetology School.
Mike, could I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
On your iPads, board members, it's pages 39 and 40 for the inspection sheets, actually. Just to not lose. Okay.
And specifically with regard to the Barber School, there was a request for the student files from both schools, and those student files, it's my understanding, were refused to the inspectors. And as the board knows, we have specific statutes and regulations that entitle student files to be inspected. In addition, we also have regulations that both under the Barber Act and the Cosmetology Act that are state minimum standards in order to require a license for a school. And Ms. Hudson, in her 3-page report, not only for the Barber School, but also for the Cosmetology School, went right down the list to show what was not in working order or what was not even present at the time of the inspection of each school. And then on top of that, there was also a Barber student present at the time of inspection that was performing a service on a customer, and there was no licensed barber instructor present, which we know that goes against statute as well. So basically, the facts show that the student files were not available for inspection, and that goes against her contractual agreed order stating that she would follow the law and the regulations regarding sanitation and maintenance of equipment. Obviously, we had sanitation violations that Ms. Hudson listed in detail. The school was not able to meet the statutory regulatory minimum requirements for a school license. That alone, I say, is very telling with regard to each school. This is what the bare minimum the state requires, and they do not have that at the time of inspection. And again, we have the incident with the barber student and not having a licensed barber instructor. Obviously, that goes against the barber statutes and the as well as the cosmetology statutes that she agreed to follow. It is the department's rationale and analysis that both schools are not satisfying minimum standards to stay open. And when we talk about the student files, it's hard to assess or verify or cross-reference when you have issues or complaints regarding enrollment, regarding student hours, and regarding academic progress. It's impossible to investigate those properly when you're denied access to those files, pursuant to statute and pursuant to regulation. When you take these two together, I think it lends itself to a competency issue, because how are we to gauge the competency of these students once they reach graduation if we don't even know how many students there are. We can't verify that. We don't know what their progress is. There could be an allegation of selling hours, and we have no way to verify that. So when we talk about competency, that is always in the public's interest. It's in their welfare, their health, and their safety. Whether it's dealing with a lawyer or dealing with a cosmetology or a barber, we expect our professionals to be competent. And so that's the department's rationale as to why both school licenses need to be temporarily suspended until we can have a full hearing in October. And I don't want to interpret suspension broadly because I think in order to give full force and effect to a suspension, there also needs to be some language in the order to be prepared that would temporarily prevent these students from sitting for an examination in order to protect the public interest. And so I would ask that we specifically have that language in there so that we're covering both ends of the suspension. And so that's what the department is summarily seeking in this matter. We submit that the facts do show that the public health, safety, and welfare has been affected, and that we need to, protect them in this way. Does the board have any questions?
Mike, I just wanted, for the record, to ask, does Ms. Harris is she present, or does she have any representatives here today?
Chairman Gillihan, in the response that she sent back to my Friday email, she stated that she would not be participating telephonically, and that this 25-page document, I think 4 pages of it being text and then 21 pages being exhibits, is her official response.
Hi, Mike. This is Frank Gambuza. Do we have does legal have a recommendation on how to handle this? It sounds like it's pretty thoroughly consistent with everything we wouldn't want. So could you please share maybe your recommendation to the board?
Well, I would submit my recommendation would be to not only summarily suspend, and we're doing this on a temporary basis. Obviously, we have a hearing coming up in October, but to temporarily suspend both school licenses. But we also have to get both ends of this situation handled, and so as part of that summary suspension, that would also logically include the temporary prevention of the students for sitting for an examination.
Have any of the students been testing with PSI?
Yes, ma'am. This is a licensed school right now, 2 licenses, so they are testing every day.
Have they been submitting their hours to the state? Okay, thank you.
Because they're disallowing our inspectors the opportunity to check their records and verify. And I can tell you from my own experience, when we're inspected, they come in and they inspect the school and do their walkarounds. Then they will ask to see our student files. They will pull a number of files, and if those files indicate any errors or omissions, then they will pull up to all the files, I believe, and check those. So the idea that a student is being allowed to test and move forward without us being able as a board to verify that they're actually qualified to do so and have met the requirements, I think that absolutely could endanger the public health, safety, and welfare, as well as the school not providing essentially what I'm seeing as proper equipment and proper order of operation, not having an instructor present while a client is being serviced, which also indicates to me that they didn't have a school manager on hand at the time to do that. That absolutely would endanger the public health and safety. The welfare of the student also has got to be considered here, in my opinion, because if there's no instructor there, then that student is being charged, or he's paying for a education that he's not being provided. He's not supposed to be providing his own work. He's not supposed to be doing things as he wishes. He's supposed to be instructed. So I think that places this student at risk as well. Unprofessional conduct, I see that without question in this. So I can see that it would be necessary for the public's protection to not allow a student to sit for an exam until such time as this is resolved in the short-term summary suspension, if that's what happens, and following through with the hearing.
Hey, this is Frank again. Would it be in order to recommend a suspension of the school operating as well as any students from that school from taking any exams until the October hearing?
Mr. Gambuza, I believe that's exactly what we're offering.
It's temporary until the hearing.
Yes, temporarily, yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to stop the school from operating as well as any students testing until the hearing.
And again, that would be both licenses.
Yes.
I second it.
Do we have any further discussions, questions?
Thank you. I believe we have a motion by Board Member Frank Gambusa to stop temporarily proceed with the summary suspension for both school licenses, Barber School number 29, Cosmetology School number 92, as well as stopping the students from testing. And we have a second by Board Member Monica Lemons. By roll call vote to agree with this summary suspension as stated, Chairman Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Vice Chair Becky Russell.
Yes.
Judy McAllister.
Yes.
Patricia Parson. Yes. Mona Sappenfield.
Yes.
Frank Gambusa.
Yes.
Ms. Amy Tanksley. Ms. Tanksley had to leave and will be joining us telephonically. We still do have quorum, so I'll mark her as out for this vote. Susan Witcher.
Yes.
Janie Ross.
Yes.
Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. All yeses to proceed.
Chairman Gillihan, I will prepare an order for your signature. And with regard to Cosmetology license number 92 and Barber School license number 29, both licenses are summarily suspended pending our final hearing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. If you're
Ron, this is Mona.
Chairman.
Hello.
Yeah, Chairman Gillihan, I will email that order to you. Thank you.
Yes, Mona.
I'm just need some more information because with them getting a summary suspension, what is the next step if they continue to remain in business and stay open and continue like ignoring everything?
Mona, this is Ron. With the summary suspension, they will not be allowed to remain open until such time as the hearing takes place. The students will not be allowed to attend. Everything is essentially on hold or pause until that time, and then it will be taken up in the hearing.
If that is policed and they do continue under suspension, what is the next step?
The only clarity I can add, and Mike can proceed and decide if this, we could send things to authorities, but the first step once your chairman signs those orders are the students will not be testing through PSI. So any students coming from that school, based on the way the order was done, would not be approved for license or for hours to test.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So may I also add to that, they would be disobeying a lawful order of the board, which is also grounds for revocation. Thank you.
Mike, are you good with the legal report, or do you want Hugh to do the rules for a minute? Okay. You want to? Thank you. So on your agenda under legal, you have the summary suspension that has taken place. We'll turn it over to Hugh Cross for the rule updates. I think these are short and sweet. They're also a separate document on your iPads, and they were emailed to everyone as this is a red line version.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm not sure what page the rules start
Yeah,
on.
I am.
On the legal report?
On the legal report,
okay.
give me just a minute, I had it.
Oh,
On
28.
page 28.
28,
Okay.
thank
All
you.
right. I was on the right page. All right. So these rules are, this is just a red line for your approval and comments if you have any of those. These are statutory changes. Two main changes here. The first one is, you'll see it's basically changing the Master Barber apprenticeship path. The language in the statute has changed per Public Chapter 549. So you may recall we had a set of rules before that was what the board was trying to do was make it so that the supervising professional could be you have to have Master Barber license certificate and the instructor, and then so the Public Chapter 549 essentially has made it an either or. So it accomplishes what the board was sort of going for there, just in a slightly different way. So I could not use that same red line because the language has changed, but it essentially accomplishes the same. So that's the first rule there, and then the second one is just a cleanup based on Tennessee Code Annotated 62.3.124, and that's the barber instructors no longer have to have 450 hours. That's now down to 300. So that's just cleaning that up there because it still says in the rules 450 and it should be 300. That's all that's in this red line here. And we do have, Roxanne and I are going to work on a red line that's going to be a slightly broader cleanup, which is going to include the vocabulary with sanitization and disinfectant that's sort of still in the current rules. So we're going to be working on that as well as some other cleanup issues there. My goal to present it.
Thank you very much. We don't need to vote on that or anything. It's just a report, correct?
Just a report. Well, I'm presenting them to you for your approval, and then once they're approved from the board, then I will move this set to the next step, and ultimately they'll be set for a rulemaking hearing.
I do think we need a motion, don't we?
We do,
Yes,
yeah.
we
Motion
do.
roll call vote. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, you're good.
Yep.
I make a motion to accept the red line changes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the red line changes. Let's call for roll.
Thank you. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan,
Yes.
Becky Russell,
Yes.
Judy McAllister,
Yes.
Patricia Parsons,
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield,
Yes.
Frank Ambusa,
Yes.
Amy Tanksley, got her out, Susan Witcher,
Yes.
Janie Ross,
Yes.
and Monica Lemon.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes the rule change updates. And as Hugh mentioned, we have got some cleanup items regarding sanitation. Ms. Russell has sent me a few other items that are cleanup and just lingering. So we'll work on it to make sure that you all have a red line version before the meeting and have a chance to see if there's anything else that we've missed that you've got. So thank you. All yours, Michael.
Okay, on the legal report today, I'm happy to announce, hopefully I'm not jinxing myself, but we only have 67 items for discussion, 61 cosmetology cases, 2 barber cases, and 4 represents. So if there are any questions the board may have on those 67 items.
Cases number 11 and 12, those go together. And there's two violations kind of housed in those two cases that are together. It appears that there is, because of the failure to renew a license, then there is no shop manager present. Does that not require would that not require a $500 fine due to the fee schedule in Category 4 of no shop manager present?
That was with specifically number
11 and 12 together. We've got a closure and a letter of warning is the recommendation, but should that not be a $500?
Well, I had that for that, and obviously 12 is the owner of number 11. However, they renewed that license, the individual license, and so that's the underlying basis for that not being present. And typically what we'll do is when they renew that license, we'll send them out a letter of warning, because as you can see in 12, they don't have any history, any complaint history. Obviously, if that happens again,
Mike, on case number 36, our page 13. Just not quite sure how I'm reading this here. Is it a chore fee they're charging or a core fee?
they say chore fee in both of those. Goes to something contractual.
Respondent did not provide a copy of the contract to show what that would be. Just had a question about that. Thought I was reading it right. And 37 lines up with it as well. Mike, while everyone else is sort of looking through this one last time, on case number 66, page 25, that particular case is just going to stay in that status until we hear further from the courts.
Yes, he has been sentencing hearing. So when he's sentenced and when I can get those documents, then I can move forward, bring it back out and move forward.
About number 20, and I've seen it actually in a couple couple of the cases. 20 just happened. I had marked. It says inspection revealed some correctable unsanitary conditions and a notice of violation was not issued. Do you have any idea what that's supposed to mean?
Basically, the way I interpret it is it's minor enough that it doesn't warrant. It's something that they can, I mean, just probably on the smaller side of that spectrum.
Becky, sometimes that is when the field inspectors go there, the client has just left and they've not had a chance to really sweep, but it's obvious that it is that client that just left. So sometimes those are the situations where they go, you just got to make sure to quickly clean up. But the individual, the licensee hasn't had a chance really to get it done because they just left. So, that tends to be common, and the inspection continues. It might be something else, but it's minor in that it's obvious that it isn't a true sanitation issue, as is maybe the drawers weren't closed right then because the person just left, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, I was just concerned that, every sanitation issue is correctable.
Correct.
But, I didn't understand why there was sometimes a violation issued and sometimes not. But that makes sense.
It's real obvious, and you all know that in shops. If you go and there's a pile up, and we've seen some pictures today, I mean, it's clear that it is a huge sanitary concern versus someone just left and the drawer was left open.
Are there any other questions on the legal report? We'll need a motion to. Got a motion by Judy McAllister to accept the legal report. Got a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Judy McAllister and a second by Patricia Parsons to accept the legal report with any minor changes that have been discussed. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, very much.
Mike, thank you for your hard
Thank
work.
you.
Appreciate it.
We will get back on the agenda, and we are on our applications for examination. I'll give the members just a minute to switch to the library that has the full presentation. Our applications for examination start on page 294 of your tablets.
What? Page what?
294.
I got you.
Yes. The applications are for Brittany County, Jessica Morris, and Tanika Rogers. The applicants have felonies within the last 3 years and or are currently incarcerated. The request to take the Tennessee examination is being submitted to the board for approval. Along with the required information, disclosure of the student, and a letter of recommendation are all submitted. The board historically does a 2-year agreed order for a probationary period of a license. I will wait to see if you have any questions. Regarding these 3 applicants, Ms. Morris was approved previously. The board had given me the authority based on recommendations and probationary agreed orders to approve an individual if they were not incarcerated and ready to test or were coming from another state and all their documents were presented. So in this particular case, Ms. Morris has received already the agreed order and has signed it and gotten licensed, but we still need to have her as one of the 3 being approved. So I would need a motion to proceed.
Make a motion for you to proceed.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Ms. Judy McAllister to proceed with our standard agreed orders for a 2 years probationary license. With that, by roll call vote, Chairman Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross,
Yes.
and Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a request to waive the need to retest. This is pursuant to Rule 0440-1-.10, which states that the applicant must apply for and pay for an original license within 6 months after passing the examination. The board may, for good cause, waive this requirement. The board has previously given me the authority to allow up to a 6-month additional extension, but no more than 1 year for good cause. Ms. Tiffany Hart is being presented before you. She provided an explanation that due to COVID-19, the shop where she was going to work had closed. She passed her practical on February 26, 2020. If the board agrees, I would need a motion to be able to accept these exams and not need her to retest.
I make a motion.
Mr. Gambusa?
Yeah, motion to accept.
Thank you, Frank. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Frank Gambusa, second by Judy McAllister to approve the license. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Gambusa? Frank Gambusa?
Yes.
Thank you. Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. This meeting, again, board members, we don't have any reciprocal applicants, and those are good news because we're getting people licensed and working much faster, and that's thanks to all the hard work you all have done. We are on to our miscellaneous applicants. And on our miscellaneous, we start on page 320 of your iPads. The first individual is a request by Mr. Adam Clark to accept his bachelor's in education degree and waive the 300 hours for instructor hours. Mr. Clark is a licensed cosmetologist since 1998. He provided his school's transcript showing more teaching methodology. All the teaching methodology he had to take in order to obtain a bachelor's degree. He would still be required to pass both the theory and the practical exam, and so I'm available to answer any questions you had. Mr. Clark might have been with us on the call early on, or he's still on. Mr. Clark, thank you for your patience and joining us. If the members have any questions, they will definitely ask you to jump in, but I think everything he provided, you know, again, goes to support the bachelor's degree in education, but I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you, Roxana. You know, this is a situation that I'm sure could come up every day. We have lots of folks out here who otherwise are qualified, but lacking that instructor training, the 300 hours that the state requires. I don't know that we have the authority to waive hours.
But we don't have the authority to waive the exams. We can look at hours in substitution like we do for reciprocity, for experience. And in this case, he has 4 years of educational hours in teaching methodology. So when Hugh and I discussed it, it was very clear that the exams could not be. But given the transcript of hours that he has for, again, getting his bachelor's, I would question what else he would learn in the 300 hours. And so I think we would be comfortable. Again, the exams are not up for debate, but the fact that he has gotten a bachelor's degree in education, that probably covers a lot more than what a school would be able to teach him. And this is the first. We also have an individual that's been licensed in the industry since 1998.
I would make a motion to have Mr. Clark take the exams, both exams.
Thank you, Mona.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second to have Mr. Clark take the exams.
Thank you. Do we have any other, did you want to ask any other questions, Ron?
Wait a moment, I'm just pondering this one. I'm trying to anticipate that slippery slope we get on sometimes.
And I can share some history because when this came in, I looked at it carefully. Years and years ago, we had a nurse that was applying for an aesthetics license. The nurse's experience was in doing peels and so forth. However, That was different, and she was probably in some degree overqualified, but it was the medical side instead of the beautification side. And so at that time, and I don't know how we would view that today, but at that time, the decision was that she still needed the aesthetics hours. Where when I dove into the transcripts, what I reviewed in the transcripts was the in-depth teaching processes, right? We have Dr. John Cagle that's now on our board coming in with that bachelor's degree in education. So that was kind of the debate, and we've never had anyone licensed.
He actually is a licensee, and that's
decades,
that's
right?
the
So
difference that's
exactly.
laying out.
So just to add some you know, as we looked at this could come up again and set precedent. I think given the years of licensure, and again, you know, I don't know how much more other than that bachelor's to teach you'd be able to get in the 300 hours, but you are the experts.
With the education resume that we have in our files here, there's no doubt that he is qualified to teach. There's not a question about that. And I'm really, really glad that he has the licensure history in the field. But he's looking at me like a pot that's about to boil. I'm sure you all understand the idea of the slippery slope. So what are we going to do if the next time someone comes in and maybe they have 2 years as a licensee and they have a teaching certificate that they haven't used in many years? Or have they not been active? I'm not asking the question how active he's been in the field. But I can foresee things like that coming across our desk because we've had so many odd things like that over the years.
I want to remind the board, and it's because we don't see a lot of the reciprocal in front of you anymore. At least half of the states no longer ask for hours for instructors, not to add to this turmoil, but they really don't. License in Ohio, because we get a lot from there, all you need to do is have work experience in a shop and you automatically qualify to teach. So it's tricky even comparing states right now.
My heart and my mind want me to go forward and say, yes, let's approve this young man, and I'm certain that's the way I'm going to approach this. But I guess really I'm trying to quantify what it is that's helping me to make that decision on him. For me personally, it's the licensure and the years of licensure as well as the credentials that he's presenting. Someone who may be somewhat less qualified in those respects, I might feel differently about.
One of the things that I was looking at as I was going through this, I think that he's probably overqualified for what he's asking for. Something that I would be concerned about is if the master's degree had been completed years ago, because we would have had the need for those continuing education. So he's not needed continuing education because the hours were only completed in April of this year. So if the master's had been completed 10 years ago and there would have been that need for continuing education, right, I think we would have been in a different boat. I will say that the education that he has received is probably an excellent education. I would advise Mr. Clark, just from personal experience, because of taking both education courses in a college and having just completed my instructor's license for barbering, those text materials can be quite different. So if approved, Mr. Clark, I would just advise you to go through that My Lady Educator. That information is going to be needed. So check your references for the testing information and make sure you go through those reference materials.
I appreciate that. I have the Master Educator 3rd edition textbook and exam review literally sitting right in front of me.
Mr. Clark, thank you for speaking up there. I was just about to call on you and ask if you have anything you'd like to say for yourself.
Well, absolutely. First of all, thank you all for hearing my case. I know it's a bit unusual. It's just kind of where I've arrived in life after all these years. I've loved cosmetology. I love hair. I love what it does for people. I also have a great passion for teaching and come from a family of teachers. My mom, my aunts, grandparents have all been educators in some form or another. And as I've gotten older, I've just found myself drawn to putting both of my passions in play as I move forward. So that's why I'm looking. While a master's degree may be a bit overqualified, it's also about what I can contribute. And I feel like I can contribute most by being an educator for something I'm passionate about, which is cosmetology.
Thank you very much.
Another legal question, going back to the legal side, since it says instructor trainee to complete within 300 hours within 6 months, and for a junior instructor 1 to 3 years, does that affect this at all? In that he hasn't completed the curriculum within that 6 month time period. Again, I think that he's well qualified, but legally, do we have a right to forgo that portion of legal?
Mr. Clark, if you had to guess, how long your bachelor's is normally 4 years, so was that your point, Becky? He's exceeded the 4 years if we look at it as a junior comparison?
A junior instructor has to be under the supervision in a school. So
and in college you are, right? You have a professor that teaches you. Or do you not?
The other route, well, I'm actually thinking that he may be more like a instructor trainee, and that piece specifically says must complete within 6 months, and he's obviously exceeded that to have a bachelor's degree. I'm not saying one way or the other we should or should not accept. I just want to know legally, can we get away from that 6 month time period because of the way it's written?
I think really that kind of goes to that first question I asked. Do we even have the authority to consider such a request based on what the rule specifically says? I think probably all of us would maybe be in favor of a case like this if we were on solid legal footing. You?
I just don't want to I don't ever want to overstep my bounds legally in this manner, and then it come back later and say, well, you didn't follow the rules legally in another case. I don't want somebody else saying, well, you went outside the legal expectations in another case. I don't know.
Help us out, Hugh.
This is one of those cases where there's really nothing in the statute that's going to directly point towards yes or no. In this case, he seems to be substantially qualified, at least to the extent of for like the reciprocity piece. So if it came through reciprocity, would the question be posed any different? I'm not sure. I think my concern too is the time period, because the statute does have the 6 month in there, and it has the 1 to 3. I think there's a legally defensible position to approve it. I think my initial legal analysis was that what do we do for reciprocity, and the reciprocity statute, there's time periods in there as well. But if the time period wasn't in this statute, that's sort of what is the issue here. If you want me to, I can do a more thorough review and look into it more on the time piece specifically, and then get back to you all at the next board meeting if you'd like to do that.
No, I think that we want to be careful about comparing apples to apples here as well. Someone who's coming in for reciprocity is someone who generally has a particular credential from another state or country, and we're essentially giving them the equal credential here.
But our international applicants do not. Our international applicants bring us a transcript that simply shows teaching methodology and the best hours they can round up. Sometimes they don't even count like ours. So we look at the whole transcript as a whole.
And then we send them to testing,
And
which is
what he's
what we're doing
asking
here.
for, right? The permission to test. And so I view it closer to an international applicant, although he's not. So that even makes it more qualified because we can see the university credentials. So I guess I've looked at it from the different angles with the concern. And because we have that flexibility, we don't want to turn down an individual moving to Tennessee in their 50s who in their country had this successful career and experience and bring them back to almost zero. And so you all have been so lenient and flexible in understanding that whole scenario. What did they learn? So that's kind of my focus here. What has he learned that makes him a good instructor?
I think him taking the test will prove whether he has learned it or he has not. I think we've done that.
Anybody like to make a motion?
We have, I thought.
I think Frank did on the
phone. Oh, Frank made a motion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay. So we've had our discussion.
Becky, you had something, or did I?
I was just trying to figure out if that was law or rule, and it is law. It's written in law that so that was just a clarification for myself that it's not our rules that we're discussing. It is law to be completed within a 6-month time frame.
Where does that leave us? He did not complete in 6 months.
But we don't know on our international applicants that we accept every day to test how long they complete. Right? Now, instructor is a trickier boat. I mean, for reciprocity, for international, for everything. We look at the transcript if someone's coming from another country. We almost have no choice. I don't know that we've ever debated the 6 months or 3 years. I'll be honest with you. For reciprocity, we can't even look at that. And for international, we don't look at how long it took either. And Hugh can do his research. I don't think it's pulled us in to worry about the time frame as opposed to the true educational piece.
For myself, I want so much to say, yes, let's do this. I think that it's worthy, and I think that it probably would be a good idea going forward. But I have to say, I'm still have that same concern that Becky does. I don't want to hold this young man up. That's the main thing. I don't want to hold him up and not let him get a job or get set for his test. Whenever we're setting precedent, though, I don't know if it would be the better part to get a little more clarification from Hugh and have him come back the next meeting. I hate to do that. So we do have a motion. We do have a second. Let's.
I can do roll call vote, and we see. I have no idea.
We'll do a roll call and see where it falls, okay. And if this fails, he can represent. Now the motion is to approve him.
To
test.
To take his test.
We have a motion by Mona Sappenfield and a second by Judy McAllister to approve Mr. Clark with his bachelor's in education to have him test. And anything we say on the record. And so it is important that if we still want to debate it, that we debate it. Or if Ms. Sappenfield or Ms. McAllister need to withdraw their motion or change it, this would be the time we would do that. My only concern with Hugh's statement, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is he simply said that the law doesn't contemplate this. So it may not help him to research if it's not contemplating something of this nature, which is you're really not doing 300 hours in a school in training, and you're really not doing 1 to 3 years apprenticeship in a school. You went to a university. So it isn't written to contemplate this.
Yeah, the law says what the law said. There's nothing in the law that will say that the board may approve this application based on this experience. That's sort of where I'm a little muddled there, and I could spend more time on the timepiece and see if there's something else that, could strengthen legally defensible position on this, and also get clarity
What would
on
be the consequence if we were incorrect in the application here? If we approved it and then it turned out that we shouldn't have done that, what would that look like?
I think it just goes to the slippery slope aspect. It's sort of hard to say. I mean, if another application comes along down the road, you have to make sure that everything's documented, and we're moving forward equally, and everyone gets treated the same. That sort of thing, and there could be more consequences to that as well.
I just want to make this is Mona. I just want to make a comment that historically we've been very confident in testing. And I feel like the instructor's examination is a preparation that's so far beyond and different of all the other testing that's done and regulated by our board. And I strongly feel that if Mr. Clark, with this, he's been in styling and hairdressing, and he's also been studying to be a school instructor through that education. I think we just have to be confident in the fact that we have a really solid test and we're making a good decision.
You had a comment?
In light of the conversation that we've had, you brought some points forward that I had not thought about. So with that being said, I'm going to rescind my second, and I think that maybe Hugh should do some more research on it. I think I would feel better about it.
We have a motion on the floor. We do not have a second. Is there a further second? Hearing none, the motion will die for a lack of a second. Mr. Clark, this is Mr. Gillahan. I hope you understand that we're not trying to postpone you personally or anything like that. We're simply trying to make sure that we are correct in our applications of our policies and our rules and our laws. We're going to have our attorney research this request just a little bit further, and if you wish, we can rehear this at our next meeting, and I would encourage you strongly to follow through with this, because this is a request that we have not had in quite some time, and the circumstances of your scenario are quite different than we've ever seen. So I would encourage you to represent. Okay.
I understand. And what actions would I need to take to represent? Because I won't have any new information to put forth. What would I need to do before the next meeting?
There won't be anything at this time for you to do. At our next board meeting, it would be helpful if you call in or come down here in person and be here. You don't have to be here, but if you care to participate, this will be represented at our next meeting, and the board will take it up again. And hopefully we can have some firm standing to make a good decision, because this request you have, while it's more pertinent to you today, it really opens up a lot of applications potentially for the future, and making sure we have the correct legal foundation to move forward without creating a problem that would not be proper. Okay, so congratulations on all your other education, and we hope this thing can go forward for you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I will be in attendance next time, either virtually or in person. I appreciate all y'all's time today. This was a nail biter, and to be continued.
It was for us,
Thank
too.
you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
And we absolutely understand how important this is to you. Okay? We don't do this lightly.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we will proceed. Next, board members, on your iPad, we're on page 326, still in the miscellaneous section. This is a request for continuing education hours that were completed a little bit late by Ms. Debbie Fletcher Dalton. Ms. Fletcher Dalton is a licensed master barber instructor as well as a cosmetology instructor. The two separate instructor licenses ran into a problem in 2015 when she attended a session in July when her cosmetology instructor mandatory requirements needed to have been completed by June 30th. So she missed it by a couple of weeks. She completed 16 hours of approved continuing education for a very long time, not running into any issues when she was taking them on odd years. And then she switched over, not realizing that one of the licenses then was off by 2 weeks. And so she is requesting reinstatement of her cosmetology instructor piece. She has, in fact, taken continuing education every 2 years, regardless. It's just once she missed that in 2015, it continued. So on pages 327 and 328, you see my ink on the side. I actually had to print them and put them side by side to get the dates right and see where it took place. And it would be at your discretion to accept it. If not, she would need to retest for her cosmetology instructor piece.
Roxana, when I saw this one, I actually went back into my notes and I found where I'd made notes on that particular case. She's asking us to just approve her.
Or it would be waiving the instructor reinstatement exams because she has in fact taken the courses every 2 years, right? You can count it for both your licenses. Those are lucky enough to have both instructor license. She really didn't realize until recently that the instructor cosmetology piece was gone because she would get both her licenses and they just sounded logical. I think she just connected that piece and was devastated. And she was fine for a very long time. Once she switched to the odd years and she went the summers, then she missed it by 2 weeks. Had she stayed on that, and I've worked for years to get instructors to not limit themselves to odd or even, but when you have that dual license, you've got to find that common ground to meet both. So
is this going to help her get back on path with that?
This would get her, if the board approves it, it would get her cosmetology piece back, and the board has that discretion to waive those reinstatement exams in this particular situation due to the CE. You would not if she had lapsed in the 3 years, right? I want to point that out because we're asked that often. I expired in 3 years. Is there any ground for reinstatement? And there isn't. This is due to the continuing education, not that she didn't renew.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Patricia Parsons, a second by Frank Gambusa by roll call vote, and this is to approve the short gap in the time given that she still attended continuing education every 2 years. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Gambusa?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross? Yes. And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. Next on your iPads, we are on page 329. This is a request to consider all the aesthetics hours completed by Miss Laquita Hughes. Miss Hughes was on our call until a little bit ago when we took the break, so I hate that she's not here. In any case, Miss Hughes completed a declaration of the hours she completed, and on that declaration she states she attended Tennessee Academy of Cosmetology starting in October 2014 through the end of 2015. Office records show that the school closed and that her hours for Ms. Hughes are only there through July of 2015 for a final count of 556 hours. Ms. Hughes doesn't have her transcripts or the certificate that they gave her when she completed. She does have an email from 2015 that shows there was a financial obligation due, and again that the school's closed, so the financial obligation is not something that we assist in collecting unless they ask us to right when they're closing. At this point, my hands are kind of tied because our records could find is 556 hours. It could be that the school didn't include her the last few months because she had, owed the money. I don't have anything else to go from other than her statement her desire to test as an esthetician and proceed. She and I've spoken several times. She had health situations going on that kept her from pursuing this prior to now as well.
I think normally the schools still report the hours attended, whether the student owes the money or not. They just don't release their hours for testing. So she didn't have any other hours from any other school, no papers from any other
No,
schools.
it would all be from there. And of course, I don't have emails from 2015, but she did have this email. The only other thing that school, and some of you may recall, changed hands and sold at the end of that year. They had 2 campuses in the West Tennessee area, and the new ownership, I think, maintained it open for another year. So I don't know if in the changing of records, we don't have all of the last part of 2015. We're missing a month or so as they changed hands. Whether that would be the month, I couldn't say. I just want to, point out that with the selling of the school at that time frame when she would have finished, there is that window that could have been there for her additional hours. I don't know if it would have given her the extra, 150 she's missing? 200 hours. I hate that she's not on the call. That's just, I'm sorry. But you have everything that she has.
Roxana, what's the number of years before their hours expire?
7.
So she's right on that line.
I know, and I walked her through that, of course, but she insists that she's finished, so that wouldn't have been an issue. But if the board believes that she does still need the 200 hours, we would need to extend the time so she can finish
Right.
it. You are correct. Yes, sir.
The only complaint we've had on the school not submitting the correct hours, or have there been others?
We've not had any problem with her hours.
Okay.
But again, based on when she believes she finished, because on the declaration that she did, which is on page 331, she was confused with the date. So we did have some conversation, and that had to do with her health concerns and what she'd gone through right at that period of time. But we were able to find her all the way to July of 2015. They changed hands, I want to say October or November, right at the end of 2015, just as she would have finished.
During that last month, looks like she attended 21 hours and change. Well, does anybody have any comments or suggestions?
I would suggest with little evidence of the hours that she's got to back up her.
I think you have everything she has. I mean, she's genuinely, when she found the email, she was thrilled because that explained the financial piece. But exactly as Chairman Gillihan has said, that has to do with the release, not the submission. But I know that we're missing at least a month, if not 2, of the hours when the school sold and transitioned. So otherwise, I'd be able to be very comfortable and say I've reviewed every single month in 2015. We got to July. We had August, September. She's not on it, but there's at least a month that I couldn't find the records when the school changed hands. Her statement is on page 330, so she kind of recaps her explanation on it, but I don't believe she has anything else.
She started her enrollment in October of 14, so through October of 15 for 750 hours, or this is June, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong date. Just trying to do a little math in my head here on how many hours she was actually attending back then, if it made sense that she would have finished in a month.
I believe she would have finished at the end of 2015. She remembered, because that's when she had a major health concern, someone in her class in that part of Tennessee dying, and that she remembered that that's exactly about the month she finished. So we were able to recap some pieces, but
Make a motion to approve her for testing.
We have a motion to approve her for testing. Do we have a second?
I will second that, because if she can pass the test, then that will tell the story.
we have a motion by Patricia Parsons to approve Ms. Laquita Hughes to take the aesthetics exam. We have a second by Judy McAllister by roll call vote. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell? Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. I promise I will pick up the pace, board members. I know you all are tired. We don't have much more to go. The last miscellaneous item is a request for approval of a cosmetology license for Jenny Lamb. Ms. Lamb was licensed by Reciprocity from Texas in 2011. The license was revoked in April 2013 for failure to obtain the license as the statute requires. Since then, she's attended a school in Tennessee and passed both exams. Her practical was passed on April 2021. The request is to approve her license. And you have the revocation papers as well as the 2 exams on your iPads all the way to page 347.
Had approved her to take the test at our last meeting or the meeting before that, I think.
I think it's the same name.
Yeah.
I believe in these situations, we approve the license because a revocation means that my office wouldn't be able to approve them, but they are put to test by the school that re-educates them and puts them through it, right? So oftentimes we don't even know that they're in the pipeline. They could have moved somewhere else, but in this case, it would be an approval of her license since she's passed the exams.
I make a motion to accept.
A motion by Ms. Monica Lemons.
We have a second?
Second.
And a second by Patricia Parsons by roll call vote. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross? Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. Board members, we're now on to the director's report, and this is on page 354. No, I apologize, 349 of your iPads. The financial numbers through May of 2021 are being presented. The last 3 months had a surplus, leaving the year-to-date surplus at $13,197. That's cutting it really close. This doesn't include June, so I'm not concerned that we will end in a good place. As the board members know, we had a couple of big months with expenses, but I think we're going to end okay and level off. But you've got before you there the numbers as of May, and then at the October meeting, we should have fiscal year closure for 2021 to present to you. Under new business, I have in front of you, and I believe these were emailed, you have the opportunity to look at, and I do need an approval of the new school inspection sheets. The June 13th rules that went into effect added the new requirements for the specialty schools. As you all know, they weren't itemized. We followed what the shops had, but these now are specific inspections based on the school type. So our field inspectors, once you approve these, will have them on their iPad. So if they go to approve a barber school or a specific aesthetic school, they would have the inspection sheet that includes only that equipment instead of a lot of marked off areas. We're also doing the inspection the same way the shop inspections are, which is only if something is not met do they check it off. This is envisioning our new computer system that's going to start incorporating these inspection sheets. And there, instead of checking yeses on everything, the assumption is everything is there and you only check off what isn't. So that's why they look a little bit different for those of you that inspect schools. General Services has already approved these, so hopefully typos and things of that nature are met and they meet the state's guidelines for the way documents need to be presented. Happy to answer any questions, but otherwise I would just need an approval to move forward with those inspection sheets for the field inspectors.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion.
Roxanna, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On these new specialty instructor schools, are you going to have, because they don't have any equipment, with these,
right?
Do you have another form?
No, I don't envision needing that. We will use the full cosmetology or full barber inspection sheet, and it's only going to be about, the contracts probably, but that's a really good question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got one sitting here. I'm going,
Yeah. It'll have to be the full, especially because the schools that we approved last time and the one we're going to review for the next month are wanting to offer more than one, instructor type of program for different licensees becoming instructors. So I think that would be appropriate, but that makes sense. Thank you, Mona. We do have a motion to approve these forms by Patricia Parson and a second by Monica Lemons. By roll call vote, Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parson? Yes. Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Susan Witcher?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you. And board members, that is all I have on your iPads. The only other documents I loaded, and I'm happy to email again, is our 2021 session for continuing education. Just in case, I want to make sure that anybody that has signed up kind of looks at their dates. We had a situation with an incorrect date for TSU. I believe they've changed their date to September instead of this last weekend that would have been taken place. So I will revise that once I'm able to communicate with them. But that is all I have. Chairman Gillihan, I will turn it over to you.
Got a long one today. A couple of unique things. It's always interesting. As we close, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming in today and doing the work of the people. And Roxanna, thank you, and your staff, Hugh, Betty, you guys. I don't know how you do it. If we don't have anything else coming for the board, we'll be adjourned.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Don't need one.
We did it.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
1:10. Thank you, board members that are participating with us telephonically. I know it's been a long day. Thank you. And John and Laura, thank you for guiding us through this. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Frank. Bye. Good to see you, Frank.